Dear all, a very warm welcome to the third Realty Plus PropTech Conclave and Excellence Awards 2021. I'm Sapna Srivastava, editor Realty Plus magazine, and let's begin the proceedings of the day with the auspicious Ganesh Mantra.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा.
On that positive note, let me also express a sincere appreciation to all those who have helped us put this event together. Let me thank our partners, Event Associate, Totality and They Build, Virtual Event Partner, Almond Vortex, Creative Partner, Another Idea, Business Media Partner, BW Business World, Online Media Partner, Exchange for Media Group, and of course, organized by Realty Plus. Thank you all. We couldn't have done without you. Now, before we begin with the very scintillating discussions and the eminent speakers that we have today, let me give a brief introduction of what Realty Plus is all about, especially for those who are joining us for the first time. So, friends, Realty Plus magazine is part of Exchange for Media and BW Business World Group. The monthly publication is the real estate vertical of the group and was created to cater to the needs of the real estate business. For the past 16 years, Realty Plus has been at the forefront of news and stories influencing the world of real estate, and it has also been recognized as the best real estate magazine by Real Estate Development Council, NAREDCO. Realty Plus is available both in print and digital edition. Apart from our monthly magazine, the Realty Plus publication, we also have series of collector's edition coffee table books that are premium editions launched once in a year, spotlighting prominent personalities, products, and brands of the real estate industry. Our recent one is the Realty Plus Super CXOs, which features India's top 100 realty influencers who are transforming the sector through their leadership and vision. And in fact, we look forward to many of our speakers who will be joining us today to feature them in this very special edition. Moving on from the publication, in today's challenging times, Realty Plus has continued to innovate with digital products to keep the industry connected and engaged, such as our virtual series of Realty Plus Conclave and Excellence Awards, which feature eminent speakers, engaging discussions, and lively virtual award ceremonies felicitating the top performance in Indian real estate. The virtual series are designed to inspire and engage a larger, more inclusive audience from across sectors, industries, businesses, and regions. And let me also inform you, all the viewers there, that Realty Plus also produces various online products and events under its Realty Plus Digital Connect initiative for the real estate sector. As we all know, this is the time when we are getting connected online and digitally because of the social distancing. So these are the mediums through which we provide high visibility and real-time engagement for all our products and our promoters and partners. Under the umbrella of Realty Plus Digital Connect, we have Realty Plus Masterclass webinars featuring subject matter experts and industry leaders in an insightful and informative conversation on current and relevant topics. The Realty Plus Real Talk video interviews with influential leaders from varied segments of real estate have them sharing their honest views and opinions and real facts and figures for the benefit of all the stakeholders of the industry. Not to be missed, every morning is the Realty Plus e-newsletter that goes out with latest news, views, and opinions from across realty sector of India and the world every day to all our entire database. We are also very strong on the social media platforms, and that is how we stay connected with all our readers, peers, and partners and promote our products. So this was a brief snippet of what Realty Plus does and what our latest initiatives are. To know us better, do get in touch with Tripti Kedia, publisher and business head, Realty Plus. We will be happy to be connected with you and share the latest information about the initiatives that Realty Plus is taking. So, friends, let's begin with the proceedings of the day, the PropTech conclave. But before that, let me invite Dr. Anurag Batra for the inaugural address of the day. As we all know, Dr. Anurag Batra is the chairman and editor-in-chief of Exchange for Media and Business World Group, and he is known as the media mogul with expertise across segments of the industries. So we are waiting for him to join in just a few minutes. Let me also inform our viewers, we are right now live on Realty Plus website, which is www.realtyplusmac.com, and also on Realty Plus Facebook page, which is RP Realty Plus. Can we have Dr. Anurag Batra's slide back on the screen while we are waiting for him to just join in a few minutes? Yes, he's joining in just a few minutes. That's what I have been told. I believe there is some time still for Mr. Anurag Batra to join us. In the meantime, can we have another of our very interesting AV? In fact, what I was talking about, the latest initiative, that is what is Interior and Exterior Conclave and Awards that are coming up in just a few days. So, can we have that AV again for our viewers to take a look what this is all about? क्या अरे मैं लाइव हूँ उसमें कैसे बात करूँ हाँ बोलिए Awesome. Those were some very interesting information and the AVs that we have. Can we have Dr. Anurag Batra's AV? I believe he's not able to join personally, but he has sent his message for our viewers. So yeah, we're still waiting for that much awaited AV of Dr. Anurag Batra.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Reality Plus PropTech event. This is the first event of Reality Plus in 2021. So happy New Year to you. Congratulations to Triptych Area, Sapna Srivastav and the entire Reality Plus team for putting this together. PropTech has become more relevant than ever. COVID has made sure real estate is more in demand, residential real estate is more in demand, and for the complete value chain, we need PropTech from information search to setting up visits to see the property, to buying the property, to managing the property. So really property tech, which was a concept a couple of years back, has now impacted the whole value chain of real estate. Reality Plus is doing this PropTech conference and PropTech awards to be able to showcase the best practices in this segment and also bring the leaders and companies that are making a huge impact. So I wish all the speakers great time with the audience at the real estate PropTech Summit and Awards, and all the winners tonight at the PropTech Summit and Awards. Congratulations for being pioneers in this space and getting accolades. You just started. PropTech is on the rise, and dare I say, from 2021 to 2030 is the decade of India. It will also be the decade of PropTech. PropTech will be as ubiquitous as real estate. So clearly, you are pioneers championing this.
That was fantastic. That was a real pep talk for all of us here today. So now let's, after this very motivating and enthusiastic address, let's now hear it from a veteran of the technology segment. We invite Mr. Sunil MK, who's the country manager, AEC segment, Autodesk India, and SAC, to please set the tone of the conclave for today. Let me introduce Mr. Sunil. has just joined us. Mr. Sunil holds a variety of business development strategy and technical positions at Autodesk and Revit. And in fact, he is an architect by training and has been involved in evangelizing BIM, business building information modeling across Asia Pacific markets since 2001, and has worked with various government agencies driving BIM mandates as well as with various large private organizations for delivering smart cities and sustainable vision. And in fact, Mr. Sunil MK, that is what we need: smart cities and sustainable vision. Fantastic. So, Mr. Sunil MK, over to you.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really want to thank the entire Reality Plus team for this, and congratulations on this conference as well as the awards. I want to also give best wishes to all the speakers hereafter and the panel discussion that I'm sure would be very interesting. And as we just heard, we had an unprecedented year due to pandemic, and a lot has changed. Uh, I think this very conference where we are kind of meeting all of you via digitally is a big change that has happened. And I think this is the new normal going forward. And some of the trends that we see that is going to drive the future of the AEC industry revolves around three important things. I think that's basically cloud, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, as well as culture. When you talk about digital transformation that is going to happen, or people who are in this journey, um, it's actually about two things: it's technology as well as people, right? And all these trends that we see is going to help us become uh, more collaborative, more innovative, and of course, customer focused, right? And when you talk about technology, what we see today, we have all the pieces. Various companies offering you tools that actually help you to get on the cloud, do your BIM projects, uh, be better having a better collaborative approach. You are able to work with all the stakeholders right now working from home. You're able to do that. And of course, when I also look at the customer focus, it's about empathy, right? Having ability to understand customers' need, and be able to uh, deliver product and services that will help them. And that those are the key things. And I also see that when we look at the people, technology being there, the other thing that are all of us have to think about: do we have the right people uh, who can actually take us through this journey of digital transformation, right? And that actually comes with a lot of shared responsibilities and matrix around how we work together and be able to play an important part in actually making the organization strong. And a key word that comes to my mind is resiliency. How resilient are you? How resilient is your firm, the business, to bounce back ASAP or faster than what happened when pandemic hit us? You know, a lot of people, in fact, from our point of view at Autodesk, we help a lot of customer get on cloud, be able to get uh, some of the technologies that can help people work from home and be virtually be connected and all of that. So uh, that is what I think. We all need to become more resilient and look at building ourselves, our business, our company more, be able to be, bother coming back to jump back to this state much faster than we can. So that's about being really, really resilient. With that, I'll just hand over um, the stage back to Sapna, and thank you so much for inviting me here. You are muted, Sapna.
I was saying that you mentioned correctly that not only the right technologies but also the right people we need on both ends of the spectrum. The people who are making the technologies, they should correctly understand the needs of the industry, as well as the people of the industry, the firms and the organization leaders who should be probably have that mindset of adopting the new technologies. Are you seeing that shift in mindset among the industry leaders?
Yes, yes, I definitely am encouraged by what is happening in the market. As I said, we all were caught unaware suddenly when pandemic hit us somewhere early last year. But right now, I in fact talk to a lot of CIOs and digital transformation professionals in lot many companies, and they're all looking at um, how fast they can implement some of the technology that will help drive productivity. What will be the new normal? What kind of um, uh, work processes need to be done? How will people work? I mean, in fact, a lot of companies that work from home will become part and parcel of the entire journey. You still have people working from home, maybe going forward. And also the technologies will evolve. And more importantly, I think it is about having the right information today at your fingertips. And I think cloud will allow you to do that, be able to access data anywhere, anytime, from whether it's your PC or mobile and stuff like that. And of course, uh, I think the journey towards artificial intelligent data and data will help people understand the entire design process, the construction process, as well as maintaining those infrastructure much better and faster. So I think I'm very positive, and I look forward to a great year.
Yes, we all are looking forward to a great year, and especially, as over the past 1 year, in fact, the digital literacy has boomeranged amongst everyone. We see the elderly as youngsters were already tech savvy, but even the elderlies are also getting very tech savvy. Design segment, because Mr. Sunil, you basically work with the design segment, with the designers and the development part of it. Are designers actually now tech savvy? Is there still some reluctance? I'm asking because we still, a lot of architects, they feel, with technology you do not get the right connect with the design. Is that true, or is that, technology should be an enabler, not a crutch? A lot of people say,
Yeah.
we would depend on it.
Right. So technology, whatever technology you use, it's just a enabler. It is like pen, pencil, paper, mouse, or whatnot. Your design thinking is not going to change. I would say technology is not going to make a dumb architect a better architect, or a dumb design
Correct.
a better design. So I think it is about time to actually deliver your projects, right? Being continue to doing things the way you have done in past 10, 15, 20, 30 years is not going to be enough to deliver projects and infrastructure that is going to happen in India. So we have seen there's a huge demand for infrastructure project. Infrastructure is just taking off. A lot of road, highways. We don't have enough expressways. Only 4% of our roads are expressways. So, and we are talking about smart cities, airports, railway stations that will be modernized, and all this kind of work. If you have to deliver, if you do the same thing the way we have done, it is not going to be. We will not be able to do justice to it. So having a robust technology enabled work culture is what I would think is needed at this point of time, where you can actually, right in the design process, you can fix the errors and omissions and stuff like that, where construction can seamlessly be orchestrated in a way. So it's like an orchestra. You don't actually stop and try to figure out how things would be. So and also hand over the data and the building when you hand over for operation. I mean, it can be done in the best way possible, right? So
That's right. That's
yeah,
right, Cyril. Cost efficiency and time efficiency. That's what everyone needs now, and technology is the enabler for that. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us. We got some insights, and as you mentioned, we have some very eminent speakers who will be joining now. So let's take their views as well. What do you say, Mr.
right,
Sunil?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Thank
best
you
of
so
luck
much.
for this event.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
here
you.
today with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So, on that very informative note and a very encouraging note that technology is going to enhance in the coming years for India and will bring efficiencies in all sectors, let's go to the first panel of the day, a very topical issue. Everyone is talking about it, big ideas. What will shape PropTech in 2021? So, let's have our speakers slide there. We have some very eminent speakers joining us today. Let me first introduce our moderator of the session, Mr. Sandeep Sethi, Managing Director, Corporate Solutions, West Asia, JLL. Sandeep has over 25 years of experience in the corporate sector, and in his current role, he is responsible for providing strategic direction to the business, strengthening client relationships, new businesses, and ensuring excellence in service delivery. Sandeep is part of India Leadership Council of JLL as well. Thanks, Sandeep, for being here today and for chairing this session. Let me now introduce our eminent speakers in an alphabetical order. First of all, let me introduce our panel member, Mr. Amitabh Satyam, Chairman Smart Transformations. Amitabh is a former managing partner of SAP and the former global leader of telecom and IoT consulting at IBM. His book, The Smart City Transformation, published by Bloomsbury and co-authored by Professor Igor Calzada of Oxford University, in fact, is a global reference book for developing and operating smart cities. So a very eminent panelist we have here today. Thanks, Mr. Satyam, for joining us. Our next panel member, young and dynamic, Govind Rai. He's the co-founder of Insomniacs, and in fact, he is a PropTech strategist who has over 10 years of experience in real estate consulting with focus on building technology platforms to bring in automation in real estate. Something which we definitely need in real estate, Govind. His company specializes in automated marketing mix modeling for real estate to drive best ROI with the help of data analytics, AI, and machine learning, something which we will be definitely talking about in this session. Our next eminent panel member is Ms. Nirupa Shankar, who's the Executive Director, Brigade Group. Nirupa is also a director at Brigade Deep, which is the first of its kind tech accelerator in Asia. She has conceptualized some of Brigade Group's projects and businesses, and she oversees the operations and strategy for the company's self-managed assets. Nirupa, a very warm welcome to you. It's always a pleasure to have you at our panel and to hear your wonderful views. So we will be asking you a lot of tech questions in this session today.
Thanks, Sapna.
Our next very eminent panel member is Mr. Rohit Gera, Managing Director, Gera Developments Private Limited. Mr. Gera is a third generation entrepreneur, and let me he's double major in building construction, project management, and economics from the University of Massachusetts, and advanced management degree in real estate from Howard University. And no doubt he is best known for his innovative thinking, which is reflected in differentiated product lines and customer engagement initiatives that he has brought about in the company. Thanks, Mr. Gera, for joining us here today and sharing with us the developer's point of view.
Sure.
And our next panel member is Mr. Srinivas Khandavelli, who's the Director, Smart Building Solution Architecture at Microsoft. Srinivas is part of the application and incubation team supporting the Microsoft Real Estate Services Group. The group sets standards, supports implementations for the Microsoft Global Real Estate portfolio, and he also works with the broader set of Microsoft partners to drive industry innovation in the global PropTech vertical. Thanks, Mr. Khandavelli, for joining us today. In fact, our special thanks to Mr. Srinivas because he is joining from US at a very convenient time. So thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to hearing your views. Sandeep, over to you. All the eminent panel members are all yours.
Thank you, Sapna. And just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly. Any one of you, please. Thank you, Nirupa. I got it. Thank you. I think Murphy was watching out for me. Just as Sapna started speaking, I lost audio and I called Dolly. I said, is it just me or everyone else too? I think it was just me, but in good time, I'm back. So thank you for the opportunity. And thank you, panelists, for taking time out. It's an interesting topic that we're going to talk about. PropTech has been a subject of interest for many, many years now. And increasingly, it became a topic that was catching everyone's attention over the last few years. They said that 30% of global PropTech funding was coming into India over the last few years. And I think what COVID or what 2020 has done is it's changed a lot of things from a PropTech perspective. We are seeing new themes, we are seeing new use cases. We certainly see new opportunities for PropTech companies. In the past, PropTech was focusing on addressing solutions for challenges that were very traditional, which probably had many solutions in place. But in the new world, we will see PropTech addressing challenges that are relevant to the new world. We'll see PropTech opening new doors for different players that never had even thought of entering into the PropTech world in the past, perhaps. We're starting to see certain themes becoming very important for a lot of occupiers, a lot of people in let's say, properties beyond just commercial space, residential as well. We're starting to see health, safety, mental well-being, overall well-being becoming so important. Sustainability has become such an important topic for most organizations. We're starting to see touchless technologies becoming almost an expectation for every occupier. That's obviously going to bring in a lot more people into the PropTech world. So what we want to do in the next, I would say 55 minutes or so, is to just go around the panel and get everyone's perspective on how they see this world, the changing world of PropTech from their respective lenses. So I'm going to start off with Amitabh. Amitabh, given the vast and diverse use of real estate technology, what is your interpretation of PropTech?
Great, thank you, Sandeep. The PropTech or is actually not new, and it has become more relevant, and especially amongst some of us because of COVID. But the COVID may have accelerated a few things by maybe a year or two, but the general trend hasn't changed. The way technology was enabling several processes will continue to happen, most possibly because of the fact that we are not physically together and we are remote. That the transformation we see in meetings. So similarly, that transformation will be in real estate as well in technology space. So large number of things. First of all, the construction industry itself is like so old, and it's a $10 trillion industry. So even if we are able to use technology to save even 5%, we are talking about $500 billion. We can run a couple of Pakistans with that. That's just that kind of savings. So it is huge. And when it comes to, and if you apply technology properly during the construction phase, I was reading somewhere that you can do about 50% labor savings. That's another couple, that's close to $1 trillion there too. So the technology interventions is not just to have a 3D view of interior of a new apartment, but also real savings that will add to either the profit margins of the builder or pass on to the consumer. So if you look at technology, there are about 4 different ways of looking at how technology enables some of these benefits, and I'll come to those benefits another time. First one is during the construction phase. So the construction phase and the project management phase, we have people, we have material, we have time, everything is expensive. And of course, we have to ensure quality. So technology comes into all these 4 or 5 areas, and it reduces cost. It improves visibility, it provides you real-time data, and it provides, I mean, of course, the artificial intelligence is commonly used. You don't have to do artificial intelligence, just creating live data visibility, and you are able to assess risks better, you are able to cut costs better. So these things combined during construction and project management phase itself, you are able to save 20, 30%. That's very optimistic, but let's target 15 to 20%. That's huge. And so that is one part of it. And of course, the timeline shifts as well. Similarly, if you are, once it is the buildings are constructed, you're talking about taking it to market. So you are selling or leasing. During the selling and leasing process, there are a large number of technology, though most of the startups are actually focusing on this state. That how do we provide the information to the buyers and the sellers, how to provide artificial intelligence enabled technologies are helping buyers find the right properties and the sellers identified qualified leads. So some of these things we are able to do by measuring 10,000 sets of data points that we weren't able to do before, and compiling and all this data into meaningful outcomes. And this third one is obviously operations and maintenance. And then we are talking about predictive analytics or predictive maintenance for your equipment. You are talking about optimizing temperature, minimizing energy, providing more secure access. You can have facial recognition for attendance. So large number of technologies coming from everywhere. So I think that when we talk technology, we are talking about information technology, and information technology powered by analytics. And analytics includes artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. These two things, analytics and IoT together are transforming not just prop tech, but actually the rest of the world. But prop tech the real estate is about, depending on how you look at it, 40, 50, 60% of the world assets. And that is where the first intervention is required by technology. And I think we can see that today. And the overall outcome of any technological intervention has to be reducing cost, reducing inconvenience, reducing energy, because that's the sustainability concept, reducing material used, again, sustainability concept and the cost concept. So all of these things are possible today because of interventions of technology, by providing the visibility. And of course, we covered several points. So
Great.
That's my initial thought, Sandeep.
Very well summarized, Amitabh. I think you articulated very well how PropTech can help the entire life cycle of a real estate asset, right from design, construction to operations. And you said 15-20% savings is easy, but even 5% savings could be enough to run a few countries from a GDP impact perspective. And you're right, PropTech's impact should be tangible. It should be around cost, sustainability, and convenience. Can't forget convenience, because ultimately we have to make lives simpler, make lives easier. Otherwise, the adoption is going to always remain an issue. So well said. Thank you. Srini, I'm going to go to you next. 2021, what according to you will shape up PropTech in 21?
Yeah, so I think 2020 has definitely set the barometer of what could change, right? So we saw that up close and personal. So going off of what Amitabh said, first let's break down categories, right? Design, build, and operate. I'm going to focus on the operate part because that's the area I play in. And I think there are two mega trends that I see that will kind of power this, at least that section of the life cycle. First is space management. With corporations, now potentially doing hybrid workforce, they would definitely want to know that what is the loading of their offices, right? There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is something that is going to be imperative to the real estate heads, because at this stage, none of us really know. We don't have that data, right, around, are people going to come back? Are they going to stay at home? How's this policy stuff going to work out? So that to me is definitely a macro trend. That's an easy one. I think the other one that, COVID has brought to the forefront is really the health of the building. And, I'm not one to chase the latest, but there's a lot of science around how the experience of the employee can directly be correlated to their productivity. And if you give them a more healthy environment, there is tangible benefit for corporations. Now, I see this as a specific area of a lot of innovation, given the fact that most buildings have disconnected data sets. So, someone is capturing the indoor air quality, but what are they really doing with it? How is that connected end to end and driving a tangible benefit? right, to them. So really, the bridging the divide between IT and OT worlds and delivering solutions that touch the occupants in the building. And finally, I'm thrilled to be here. Someone said at the beginning that I'm logging in from the US. I think this is a really wonderful showcase of what is possible, and we need to continuously really support startups. And I guess that's why I'm here today. I would love to see more and more innovation being driven out of India and see some global players down. So, turn it back to you.
Thank you. Well said. End-to-end connectivity and bridging the divide are the points I took away from what you said, and you gave some real-life examples of some applications that PropTech could address to solve real-world challenges. Nirupa, I'm going to go to you next. You've been running a very successful PropTech incubator program. It's called Brigade REAP. Can you share with us your experiences of what's working, what's not working?
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. So actually, when we started Brigade REAP about 4 years ago, I had these lofty ambitions of, trying to find technologies to solve the larger, big problems of real estate. And for example, one of the biggest problems in real estate is probably from a customer's perspective, all the leakages and seepages we find in our buildings. So I fairly naively thought that, there would be some nanotech material that if we applied during our construction or, change the quality of the cement that we use, that these would be easily solved. But obviously, once you get into the details, you realize that it's a much bigger problem than just a material problem. It's a man issue, it's a material issue, it's a method issue, it's a machine issue, it's a bunch of various different things. So what I have learned in the last 4 years is that, it's very hard to find technology to solve the big problems of real estate. But most of the technologies we come across, and, we run about 2 batches a year. And for each batch, we get about 125 startups applying. So that's about almost like 300 companies that we get to speak to on an annual basis. And what we've come to see is that, they're all solving one piece of the puzzle, right? One little process in this entire process of creating a building. So there are some companies doing, of course, looking at it from a marketing perspective, or looking at things from a construction technology perspective, or from a AR, VR kind of perspective. But there's no company that's really solving the big problems, or the very disruptive solutions that we all look for. Like things like, okay, if you ask what is the bigger problems, you say, okay, how do you resolve delay issues, or how do you resolve these leakage issues? So there's no one solution to these larger problems, but what these startups are doing is probably solving smaller issues. And the way I would like to bucket it is probably they're looking at how do I increase revenue, or how do I reduce or optimize my costs, or the third one is how do you enhance efficiency. And these are the small little processes that they look at changing in the real estate development life cycle. And that is what they're doing in their own little ways. The other big learning is that I thought, for technology adoption is obviously a problem in whichever industry you look at. And I thought, okay, maybe it has to be driven from the top. But I think my biggest learning is actually it can't be driven from the top, because there's a lot of resistance from the middle. So actually, I feel that in order for technology adoption to happen, it needs to actually be driven by the middle management. You need their buy-in. If any technology is to be used widespread within an organization, otherwise the top management can go on screaming whatever they want to till their voices go hoarse. But it can be used for one project. But if you want it to be used across an organization, that buy-in from the middle management is very important, and they need to be part of the decision making and the curating of a certain technology. So what we do at REAP is actually that a lot of these startups are not ready to be plug and played into with the developer. So we spent about 5 months giving them one live project to work on, to see how they resolve whatever operational issues they have, and try to see how we can plug and play them with any one developer. It need not be only Brigade. We have a lot of well-wishers within the developer fraternity. So and one of them usually step forward to say, okay, I like this technology. Let me see how we can utilize it. And then through this live project, we try to make these startups more plug and play, because once they work for a single developer, it's easy for other developers to try and utilize the solution. So I think a lot of the prop tech startups that we have come across, I find it very difficult to just say, okay, let's use this technology. They need a lot of curating, they need a lot of hand-holding to actually fit in with a developer's way of working with things. Because I think the hardest thing to do is to change somebody's behavior, and you have to try to find a way to adopt this technology without drastically changing anybody's behavior. So those are the learnings that I've, in a more high level way, that I have learned over the last 4 years. Of course, I can get into the details of the nature of technologies at a later stage.
As he was speaking, Nirupa, I actually was thinking of what she was saying, and it makes sense because we see a lot of folks from outside of real estate getting into prop tech, and they don't see the larger picture because they haven't been exposed to it. Their experience has probably been in other domains, and that's why they try and solve part of the whole problem.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Most of the people who are starting these prop tech companies are not from the real estate space. And that's one of the reasons you also want to have this accelerator, because sometimes the biggest disruption comes from people outside of the industry, not from within the industry. So part of it is actually to keep your ears to the ground to see what are people thinking of. And many of these founders are customers in the space. They have had difficulty, say, buying a property, or they've had difficulty with all the leak, some issues and snags in their buildings, and then they try to come up with solutions. So it's really interesting to see. I think it's energizing to see the solutions coming up, but you're absolutely right. Most, I would say even 90% of the founders are outside of the industry.
Yeah, and that's why, to your point, hand-holding them is very important. But the other thing that I liked about what you're doing, Nirupa, is you're not just asking them to do a POC in a Brigade construction site, but you're opening up the entire construction ecosystem, talking to your peer groups and asking them to work with you so that the mass deployment becomes easier, because you're already addressing a larger ecosystem in the upfront initial stages.
Yes, and I'm very thankful to my friends in the real estate space, because sometimes with a smaller organization, sometimes there are, developers doing maybe just 4 or 5 buildings at any given time. And it's easier for them to sort of work with these new technologies rather than, having the Brigade system try to churn it through their entire processes. Because, the larger you are, sometimes the more processes you need to follow. So it's sometimes easier for the smaller developers, to actually go ahead with these technologies.
Great, thank you. Rohit, over to you. Another perspective from a developer perspective or developer lens. You obviously see something that PropTech will do for consumers and for your end users. What is it that you think PropTech will do for end users eventually?
Okay, so I think it's important to recognize that there's different parts in the entire chain, in the value chain. One is just on the construction side, and that's largely referred to now as construction tech. And when you look at it on the consumer side, there's one part which is the relationship between the developer and the customer or the consumer, and then post possession, there's the aspect about the relationship between the consumer and the property. So I think if you're looking at the relationship between consumer and property, I think there's a lot that can be done. But a lot of this is only to in a very large extent, to just automate things, to make things a little more efficient, and to make people's lives a little bit easier. If you go back one step to look at the relationship between developer and consumer, that's when the technology really can start delivering tremendous value. When you've got a lot of data which you can start churning, which you can start looking at, trends, the developers can actually start using that to then start getting into solution-oriented algorithms, guidance-oriented algorithms for your leadership teams, and so on. So the portion which talks about just the customer along with the property, then really it's about a society management sort of tool, and we've already got a large number of those. right? And so those are, in fact, those were, I think, amongst the first few sort of prop tech solutions which came into the market even 5 and 10 years ago, which was about managing a society, making your payments and all of that. The other aspect is if you're looking at managing the property from a rental and from a landlord tenant perspective, and that's I think a very different sort of space, and the entire opportunities there are again very different. But like I said, you can automate the one of the things, for example, that we're working on right now, right? Why is it that we provide gyms in our housing societies, and yet people don't know what time the treadmills will be occupied and what's the right time to actually go to the gym, right? It's so simple to kind of automate that, put it into your app, and you can just simply turn on and say, okay, I've reserved the treadmill from this time to this time. So these kind of things, these are utilitarian benefits, which will then improve people's experience within the real estate and their enjoyment of the real estate. So I think that's the direction which I see this space, this moving towards. This then gets largely driven by the end occupier, not so much by the developer himself. So I think there's very clear cut. There's very clear-cut boundaries, and there's very clear-cut segments in this whole prop tech environment, if you will.
It's a circle, isn't it? You bring in prop tech to help create better experience for your end users, which gives you as a developer better insights, which helps you create better experience for the users. So it just gets better and better. The more you use or the more you penetrate with technology, the better it gets for everyone.
So where the big gap then comes in is when we are looking at using this, to track the experiences up to the possession, we start gathering that information in our systems, right? But the moment you hand over or you do a handshake and you transfer the customer to one of the other apps which are available out there, you cease to get that usage data, right? And therefore, back to the point that was made earlier, that there are a lot of small little pieces of this puzzle, and the bigger challenge is that these guys are not all talking to each other, right? In our organization, we have our own apps for quality control. We have something for the customer end. We've got SAP, we've got Salesforce, and then getting all of these pieces to talk to each other. And then if you try and bring, other things in, it just becomes that much more complicated. And then gathering insights and getting all those benefits becomes that much harder.
Right. And, in the past, if you look at just the residential complexes that were constructed, bringing in an element of PropTech used to be a differentiation for developers. But today I feel end users are willing to pay a premium for technology features in the complexes, be it security, be it wellness, or be it anything else, isn't it?
I think people are, in our experience, people are willing to pay for technology more within their homes, just as sustainability, right? It's a great word to talk about. I don't think consumers are willing to pay anything substantial or even a fraction of the cost that we incur to build sustainable developments. In the similar way, I think the really big challenging mindset across a large, across the majority, I think, of home buyers, and not the ones at the very top who understand the benefits, right? Across the majority is, it's not a big deal to manage a housing society. What they don't realize is, 30 years ago, the only electrical gadget that we had was a water pump. And then you added an elevator. And today you've got, very high-end equipments in gyms. You've got water treatment plants. You've got sewage treatment plants. You have, addressable fire alarm systems. And suddenly the complexity of all of this is so high. But in the consumer's mind, I don't think they've realized that to manage this and to run this whole engine, if you will, requires expertise, capability, and therefore, so far we haven't seen a very large willingness to pay for a solution that manages this really well. I think it's not far before they actually start doing it, but right now for these things, I don't see people willing to pay for that. They would much rather pay for 10 square feet extra for themselves.
I agree, and that brings me to the point you started off with, the difference between construction tech and consumer tech, right? Construction tech is something that the consumer will not pay for because, they just They can't see it, they take it for granted. Consumer tech enters into their living space, and obviously they see it, they touch it, they feel it, and they enjoy the experience. And maybe that's where it becomes tangible for them, and they're probably willing to pay for that.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, we've seen that. I'll just take 1 second. We've certainly seen that when we offer, home automation within the homes. I think people are very happy to pay for that if they can control their curtains with the voice control and managing switches and managing power supply inside the home. Very happy to pay for that. Outside, not so much.
Yep. Makes sense. Govind, I'm going to go to you next. Have organizations started prioritizing solutions around wellness, touchless technologies, and other aspects?
Absolutely. I believe the whole COVID scenario has pushed everybody with regards to the internal team communication, the way it used to happen. And now we are seeing the kind of progress that is being made. Right from the way the architect team would, interact with the developers, the construction team would be, interacting within themselves. The quality checks, how they are being maintained, and the owners, the middle management, everybody is getting a regular information. There have been technologies into the market and people are now using them a lot more. And when it comes to the other side of it, which is the sales side and the marketing side of it as well, we have been seeing a huge amount of inroads being made where people are focusing to make the whole ecosystem a little more cohesive, where the ERPs and the CRMs are talking to each other. The post-sales team also now, the technology platforms which are coming in, how the data loss is minimum, the efficiencies can be made higher, and there's lesser human interventions. And these things are now pushing the whole ecosystem forward. And I believe, we would have been expecting these things to happen in 2023. Coronavirus, definitely has accelerated the possibilities of, the adoption of these technologies. And we see the same, emergence happening onto the site experiences as well. We saw, all the developers started adopting for, virtual, gatherings with their customers. Now, when the, sites are open, the traditional touch points are being converted to digital. So these inroads are definitely kicking in, and I believe going forward, there is a huge transformation and revolution that is waiting for all of us, which will be pure voice-driven. I'm not talking just about voice driving the IoT, right? I'm talking about the enterprise solutions also being driven by voice. Where I definitely imagine running it toward 2 years down the line, Rohit sir or Nirupa ma'am here, they're sitting in their car, they're just asking, hey Dorothy, hey Christopher, what's my sales update today? What's my construction update today? So the voice part coming into the enterprise solutions as well is a huge possibility for the future that we really are betting big upon. And we definitely are seeing the seeds are sown, and we shall soon see the results.
Good. And do you think the voice part that will come in will further drive experience and eventually adoption?
Absolutely. I see. At the very basic of it, if you look at the Google Trends data, right, their search, the number of people who are typing and searching things before to now, even the regional areas, their penetration has increased because of the regional connect on the voice part of it. And I definitely see the adoption has been a problem, as Nirupa ma'am was talking about, the middle management issue. So at Brigade or at Geras, this may not be a real issue, but at other places, it's a big issue, right? And when it's a big issue, the regional connect plays in, it kicks in. At that point of time, the comfort, imagine what can happen if it's all the enterprise solutions are driven by voice and all the things are actually automated and people are not, the whole behavioral pattern part that Nirupa ma'am spoke about, which is the real fact that, any technology brings in with it, the behavioral pattern change, which people are not very receptive to. But the voice part, that's the reason we believe that in an enterprise solution, that's going to be a huge game changer. And definitely it will, change the whole, possibility and the pattern of, adoption towards these technologies.
Makes sense. And if you zoom out of PropTech for a few seconds, having voice-enabled technologies will open the market to another India. Hundreds of millions of people who probably can't read or write, they'll have access to technology. So the adoption clearly will go up as a result. So thank you. Nirupa, I'm going to come back to you and ask you for some specific examples of promising technologies that you may have come across through Brigade REAP. Okay.
So, as I was mentioning, we get almost 100 120, 150 applications per batch. So it's always exciting when you come across, companies trying to do 3D printing and robotics. And there was one company I remember that wanted to use a robotic arm to do external painting. And external painting, as any developer knows, the real pain because of the scaffolding that you have to put up, making the entire building look ugly and incomplete. But what we found is, those technologies like that still have a long way to go because they're still at a fairly nascent stage. They can only I think with 3D printing, they were able to do a home up to about, say, 11 feet. And even this robotic arm could only go up to, say, the first floor. But where we really need them is for the higher floors. So those were just exciting things that we saw, but are still fairly nascent. But some of the examples of startups that we have actually used within our company, and while I agree with Rohit that nobody wants to pay for sustainability initiatives or platinum LEED gold buildings, whatever it is, the demand for that is still there. So from a developer's perspective, I think there is this focus, especially because of the whole ESG focus that there is now from investors. So from a sustainability perspective, we almost 25% of our startups are in that space. For instance, we have WeGot, which is a water management solution for actually these large apartment complexes. And what it does is you just put in sensors at the various outlets, and eventually people can actually pay as per the usage of water consumption, as opposed to, getting a water bill for the entire complex and then just dividing it by the number of apartments. And I feel that will be fairly easier to adopt. In fact, a lot of societies, apartment associations are actually asking us to ensure that they cannot use this technology. So asking the builder to actually put in all the sensors as the building is getting developed. So we're seeing it being retrofitted in quite a few projects. So that's WeGot on the one side. There's EcoSTP, and that's a good one because usually there's this issue of smell and noise from the STP system, and usually you have a handful of residents who live close to the STP complaining about it. So we have EcoSTP, which is actually placed below the ground, so that the issue of noise is not there. And they use a chemical-free, it's zero maintenance, zero chemicals. They use some bacteria to help clean the systems, and they have some technology for that. So it's zero noise, zero smell, zero maintenance for at least 2 years. And if you need to maintain, you just have to change the filtration process. So that's what we're using in 1 or 2 of our projects. And then we have companies like Smarter Dharma, which basically help with the overall consulting of how do you make a project, say, zero discharge or zero carbon footprint. And that is where we want to head towards. We want to try and ensure that our projects are zero carbon footprint, at least for the larger campuses wherever possible. For asset management, like we are in the office and retail space. So I personally use a company called CRE Metrics, which basically tells me, suppose we have for our mall or our offices, if I want to know when a lease in another building is getting expired. So say a large MNC company is in a competitor building. I want to know when their lease is expiring so that I might pitch for that particular project. I use this company called CRE Metrics. It also helps for me when I'm pitching to a client to know what is this tenant paying in all the other projects close to me. It's probably useful for people like JLL as well. Construction technology, we use a company called QuickSpec. And the funny part is that even though construction is the core of what we do, I find very few technologies in the construction tech space, And QuickSpec is one of them. It basically helps with the whole desnagging process. You can use them for a variety of issues, but we use them to help us desnag. And, at one stage, we were able to reduce the number of snags from 100 snags per apartment to just 1 or 2 snags per apartment before customer handover. So that is how we've been able to reduce the number of snags. Prop PR we use for online selling because I think now through COVID, I think selling online has become pretty common. And so we use Prop PR to give your 3D walkthroughs and your virtual walkthrough of the entire project. So that helps us with online selling. And I think another good one that we have been using is Clareco for our office buildings and our malls, because it basically gets into your HVAC system. So they come in with their air filtration process. And it basically, every time the air passes through the filter, there's some UV, it passes through some UV rays. So then it kills all the bacteria that's floating around. So basically it helps with our HVAC systems as well. And again, these are technologies where with very limited human intervention, and that's why I said there's adoption has been a lot easier on these. These are just some of the ones that we've used. We've used quite a few more, but just 6 or 7
That's
ones
great.
that we.
That's great. Thank you. It's so interesting to see how companies are addressing various aspects of either facilities management or the whole real estate ecosystem. And what was also interesting is to see how many of these companies repurposed their agenda in the last 8 to 9 months to solve real world challenges during the COVID lockdown, etc. We had one company that we were working with, for example, that was doing geotagging of field technicians so that the closest available technician could be deployed or dispatched whenever there was a breakdown call. And of course, there weren't many breakdown calls during the lockdown. So what they did was they used Google Maps to find the best possible route that could be provided to someone who wanted to avoid, let's say, hotspots, the COVID hotspots. And in literally 15 days, they went from one application of their platform to something that was so different, but so relevant and so easy to flick the switch and transform to as well. But the fact that they were flexible, agile, and didn't have the blinders on was so impressive. And I'm sure you've seen some stories like that as well.
Yeah, that's part of what we do, help them pivot as much as possible. But I think it's easier the smaller you are. But really, it's the companies that have been the most agile during this COVID period that have actually seen some great results. Like you said, repurposing what they do, utilizing their resources to something more useful at that given particular point in time. So,
yeah. Great. Amitabh, I'm going to come back to you. How do you ensure in 2021 and beyond, PropTech becomes real, meaningful, and goes beyond just being theory in many aspects?
Yeah, okay. So typically for any cycle of technological evolution or innovation, there's always something in theory that creates huge discussions in conferences and presentations and analyst reports, and that kind of creates a pull towards that new technology. So everything has happened like that in cloud, AI, all of it. So yes, there is a lot of theory today. There is so for example, I know we every time we talk about technology, it's AI has become kind of synonymous with the new technology. And if you look at what Nirupa and Rohit said, there is very little of AI there they could actually be using. That is like much later in the value added chain, where AI would be able to create. I mean, there are AI is already inbuilt into many of these apps, but the core functionality of AI is giving information or insights that is beyond your normal linear analytics. It's not there. So yes, that's AI is still. I think AI is hype at this time, but that is the direction we are moving. It is there for everything, be it healthcare, or be it transportation management or factory industry 4.0. It's a hype cycle that is going to push everybody towards the higher value added chain, and then the higher value additions, and then it will become standardized. So yes, AI today I see is a little bit of an oversold concept. Similarly, robotics, like for painting that Nirupa said, or even using drones. The drones is a lot more convenient to do many things, including cracks that you can measure using cameras, and many things can be done, which is humanly impossible today or hard today. So these technologies are getting integrated, but I think what is missing today is an end-to-end perspective of how all of these things come together. So like I said, 3 major stages, the construction phase. How do you use AI? How do you use VR, robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and huge billions and trillions, well, maybe not millions of data points to bring together everything into a comprehensive solution? So Srini and my companies can also help, but there has to be an end-to-end solution that has all the tech integrated. So if a drone is going, capturing a video, it's sending the feed to some backend, which is using AI to analyze pattern recognition analysis of the crack, and that is reporting to somebody who is automatically pushing the new set of tasks to be done. So this end-to-end integration would be really cool to have. Right now, as Nirupa said, and Rohit also probably mentioned, is that bits and pieces to do each thing, which is fine. This is how industry evolves. And in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a lot of these will come together as packets. But what is happening today is, like I said, some of these technologies are just about beginning. But think about typically in a modern building that I'm sure these people are constructing today, or ideally they would have like about 10,000 sensors. And data is created. We need data to do analytics. And what kind of data? How do you get data? Data has to be captured using these sensors, and these sensors are of all kinds, measuring. Each room can have about 10 to 20 sensors, or at least 5. And similarly, your HVAC system, your heating system, your water, the sewer management, all of it has to have some sort of we have to integrate these sensors. The sensors will create live data, and this live data will be fed into the AI system and or analytics system, and that will give you optimization for energy, for losses in water. And I mean, there are millions of or thousands of different kind of outcomes you can create. So I think today, what I see, IoT is my area of specialization. So I see IoT actually fundamentally transforming this construction and operations and maintenance. So that is one area. Of course, AI will be laden on top of it to create these insights. Basic
So
stuff
that
like
brings up.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, please.
No, I said basic stuff like security, attendance, facial recognition, those areas of technology for day-to-day running, optimizing space in an office. So, for example, there are people sitting in different places. What's the right spot for people to sit? Now, we have co-working areas. When people walk in, you don't want to open up air conditioning for a new, so you want to optimize how and where people should be sitting. So all of these things can come together, and that is happening today already. So no hype, tons of stuff going on today.
It actually reminded me of what Rohit said earlier as well, that you have outcomes and you have insights, and the more insights you feed to the system, the better outcomes you'll get. And it's just a circle, isn't it? But from what it seems like is the folks that are working on PropTech solutions, they're focusing on the outcomes, but that whole AI layer or the machinery for AI to generate those insights, etc., is not mature yet. And maybe the skill set in the current ecosystem around PropTech is not there. And that's where we'll have to bring in other stakeholders to come in and address that part of the equation. Am I correct in summarizing that?
I disagree with that actually, Sandeep. I think the solutions that we're looking at for enabling or bringing technology to transform some of the real estate processes will have to be brought in by process experts enabled by technology, people who have done it elsewhere. So what changes is the processes of either constructions or operations or the selling. But what doesn't change is how a sensor will create data now, and how AI will be able to capture the data and create business outcomes. So, for example, water supply. You can have sensors that measures water supply to each apartment. And similarly, energy, similarly, we have each, I mean, fire, we can go through like at least 30, 40, 100 different sensors, light sensor, sound sensor, person sensor to, I can walk into my bedroom and my TV turns on its own, knowing who I am and what channel I would like. All of these things are possible today. Now, so all these technologies are not created by real estate people, right? Real estate people, so-called traditionally, have been specializing in physical construction. The digital layer on top of the physical layer, we use the term digital twin. Digital twin is conceptualizing or abstracting the physical aspects of physical properties of a building or any object for that matter, and then creating a digital twin to understand how the whole building or the civil infrastructure is being projected onto digital infrastructure. So this room may have 20, 30 parameters that is being measured. We abstract it out, push it into digital world, and boom, once you have in digital world, you can do all the AI you want, you can all the analytics and outcomes and controls, you can put the system, turn the light off, turn the air conditioning down the moment I walked out and stuff like that. So stuff is going on already, and it will be done by people who are super experts in their own areas. They'll just apply it to real estate.
Makes sense. Thank you. Govind, to you. I'm just conscious of time. We want to have 5 minutes for Q&A. So Govind, if in 2 minutes you can help us share your perspectives on what do we need to do to further develop and nurture the ecosystem around PropTech, that would be great. You're on mute, I think. Govind.
Yeah, sorry. Sandeep, I believe what we just spoke about, what Nirupa ma'am started out with. I believe what Brigade Reap is doing is fantastic. That's a stepping stone that gets started. I've personally been part of one of the cohorts of Brigade Reap, so I know how it really changes the perspective. And I was coming from a service backup, service side of the whole story to now owning the own product line. The element is we need 20 more such brigade reaps, I believe, in India to start and nurturing them. The challenge that she spoke about is totally right. That the higher management, I met Rohit sir's team as well, Rohit sir as well, and I know that the kind of vision they have for their company. But the penetration below, and for them, their teams are still good, but other places the adoption has been a big problem. So somewhere the thought leaders have to come out, create strategies to ensure these startups do not really need funding, right? They actually need validation. They need some opportunities. And the third and most important thing, I believe, which Gradai and Naretco, they can do in each and every city, if you could have just some hubs, even JLL, for that matter, right? Some hubs where these PropTech guys would come together, collaborate with each other, because in normal case scenario, I'm pretty sure right now we have collaborated with two of the Brigade Reap companies. In a normal case scenario, we would have gone to them, they would have said, hey, who you are, right? But this becomes a platform where, the whole walls go off. We can, interact with each other. So going forward for the nurturing, a lot of it, where the developer ends are there and these bodies in the real estate fraternity who are there, they can really create some scenarios, some spaces, some curated sessions. And even CBRE, JLL, they have to step a little more forward to really take them through the whole journey, give them more opportunities, and not just about having awards and taking them towards funding, but the mentoring over a period of time and making them aware about the opportunities and the need gaps and the problems that everyone faces. Probably we will have a much better evolved scenario in the future.
Okay, great, thank you. Rohit, how has COVID-19 impacted the whole PropTech investment landscape?
So, real estate developers' primary focus is, for the most part, is making sales, right? So if you have something which helps you sell, it gets adopted much faster. Then there are those who are execution focused, and they would then adopt the technology faster on that side. So I think one of the things is adoption of technology, because and a lot of real estate developers, and I'm talking at the mass level, right, aren't that professional, are still family owned, family managed, family run, and therefore the focus on PropTech maybe in one domain or one area. And to specifically answer your question, those are extra investments. Those are, nobody looks at those as something which is mandatory. And when time comes to tighten your belt and you don't have surplus cash flow to deploy on future improvements, I think the first thing are these kind of discretionary expenses which get pushed back. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of the PropTech and we've invested in a few ourselves, and we find that the developers have pushed back their investments and their efforts, and not just because of COVID over the last few years, because the sector has been struggling, that people really haven't had that extra money to go out and invest in improving their systems, because they're just living to fight another day, right? So I do think that as a result of COVID, people have realized, and so as have real estate developers, some of them have struggled because they didn't have, they weren't using Microsoft Teams, or they weren't using any of those kind of systems. A lot of them had the pirated softwares, and therefore, moving into a fully connected sort of high productivity environment was really difficult. So I think we will start seeing developers now recognize the value of having the technology, and as the real estate market sort of turns around, which we started seeing, I think they will start deploying more and more capital towards improvement of both the customer experience in the property, the customer experience with them, as well as their own production capability. So I think the future looks good, and I do think that the past and COVID has certainly dampened the enthusiasm that might have been there amongst developers to actually deploy technology to deploy PropTech really.
Thank you. Srini, probably the last question before we open it up to the audience, and we're right on time actually. What do you think we can do to influence the ecosystem and to also increase the adoption of technology?
Sure. Hey, before I get to the question, I want to give you a compliment of excellent moderation, right? It's hard to really balance all these perspectives. I love coming to these because I can hear the developer perspective. I come in from an owner-operator perspective, and it's always fun, and I think you've done a phenomenal job of summarizing it. Now to your question. I think there are two aspects. I think one, Nirupama really brought out, adoption. If you don't see adoption, you're never going to invest. And adoption can't be a tops-down thing. And I've lived and breathed this every day. So, I mean, truer words have not been spoken, Nirupama. I think that's very key, that the cultural shift, right, is critical. The second aspect that I think is absolutely imperative is the people who are paying for PropTech should not have a transactional view of those activities. Because so what do I mean by that? It's easy to invest in something like Rohit was saying. Yeah, if I invest in the sales tool, I get X out. Great, it's a very tangible thing. But I mean, can we look past that and say, if I make this, and I'm not saying it just because I'm from an owner-operator perspective, but can we take a look at how we push the industry ahead, right? It's great to do transactional stuff, but what are we doing from a new envisioning perspective, right? And all it takes is one developer like a Brigade or what have you. I mean, it could be anyone else. They set the bar. So one of the things, I mean, I spent about 9 years in India. It was interesting to me that, who was that one person who said, I have millions of square feet in Bangalore, right? And I'm going to make my buildings top class. And I'm not just saying it from a certification perspective, not just from a lead perspective, right? I'm going to make mine thing. I will invest early, right? And people will see the difference and I will be preferred. And that's a leap of faith, right? Because the investment comes before, you start seeing higher rental returns. And even the overall market has been of where there's been very high demand. So intrinsically, there isn't a lot of real push to say, should we invest? So I would just close out with a call to developers or people who are building real estate. Let's make this stuff better, right? And the benefits will follow. All it takes is one. So that's my sincere belief.
Great. That's a great way to end the panel discussion, at least our internal Q&A session. I'm going to turn it over to Sapna to moderate the audience questions. We probably have time for maybe one question.
Yes, we have few questions. In fact, one question is for Srini. Given in your experience, one of the viewers has asked, what are the, out of all the innovations that we have just spoken about, what are the immediate needs of the sector? Which technologies are the immediate needs?
So again, it's all about perspective, right? And that's what I was just saying. I mean, it depends on who you ask. If you ask me per se, it's about one of the things we're doing at Microsoft, just to give you an example. I drive solution architecture for 17 buildings in Redmond, and that's my charter, right? And we focus a lot on employee experience, right? And there is that category of real estate where, people who own real estate will make those investments. So if you ask me, I would say, yes, employee experience. And what does that mean? Is their lighting correct? Is their their thermal comfort taken care of? Is there, are they breathing fresh air? Is the water that, is in the building, is it at a optimum quality? We are talking about all kinds of experience. When they come into a parking garage, are they able to find a spot? When we have visitors come in, are the visitors, acknowledged, right? And while these things might, again, it's hard to pin a ROI on this, but I can guarantee you that people feel the difference. And I hope that these things are not just limited to owner occupied. It should be more broadly expanded. Now, if you ask me more broadly speaking, I'm fairly well versed with what the ecosystem is doing. I think companies like PlanGrid that really focus on the front side of optimizing the construction process. Absolutely phenomenal ROIs, right? Anything to do with safety. So I track a lot of drone companies. My daughters love drones, and so yeah, obviously I gotta like drones too. And I'm looking at these drone technologies that actually look out for safety of workers and even security. So those kind of things. So it's a very broad question, I would say. It depends on who you're asking, but there is so much potential of technology. I've lived and breathed this stuff. I'm a tech guy who went into real estate, and I've found it fascinating about because the scope is so large, right? So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, so from your perspective, the consumer experience and safety, you feel they are the much talked about or something which are the immediate need, and as you mentioned, drones is something that can come in handy. Mr. Khera, your view on that? What could be the immediate technology needs of the sector?
Oh, I think Srini said it right. It depends completely on where each person is in his own sort of journey. Right, and there's so much. I mean, the opportunities to add value to our businesses is so vast. And so my view is I can't answer that to say there's one thing specific. I just my call to action to every single developer is, if you're not doing it, just do it. And if you're already doing it, please do more of it, because I think as the industry evolves and we start getting deeper and deeper into this, the benefits that one can see are tremendous. An integrated organization, for example, the kind of things that what we've now started needing to do is we're putting in place our own sort of technologies, because all these various pieces, to get them to plug in, talk to each other. We started the 5-year warranty. We have an app to manage that. We have child-centric homes. We now have an app to manage all of that. These pieces now get integrated, and the benefits to consumers are tremendous. So my call to action to the community is to those who are in the PropTech space on the developer side, not the real estate developer side, onto the entrepreneur side, is keep doing what you guys are doing, and to the developers, just adopt anything. Just get started.
Okay. So rather than the technology, I think it's on the other side. The industry now needs to, as you said, call to action. They have to get to adopt these innovations. Sandeep, there is also another question. I'll leave it to you, who should be answering that. They have said that while there are a lot of disruptive technologies which are now coming in, and as the panel was also talking about the behavioral change in the industry, but the leaders, the business leaders, will also have to change to adopt these innovations. So that is what the question is, that what technologies are there, but the adoption has also to be there.
So I have the tough job of assigning it to Amitabh. So Amitabh, can you take a shot at that, please?
So that's excellent question. Actually, the business owner who is a promoter, or probably is the person, he or she is a little older and not as adept, so it is understandable that they may not know. But the moment anybody shows an ROI, they would adopt. So it is an ROI driven decision making by the top management that understands very well what is going to give better returns. So that's like any other business decision. Technology adoption, whether you use drone to paint, or do you use drones to lift bricks, or use a manual labor, all of that is decided not because it's a cool tech quotient, but it's because it's a good ROI. Same thing with the consumer. Inside an apartment, most people are driven. I think Rohit mentioned that, is that it's a cool quotient of technology. If you just do this and something happens, you love it. And we say, Alexa, close the window or turn the lights on. So these things create more excitement, and they have to also give a good return to the builder. So obviously, any technology, it's just a matter of business rate of return on business.
Okay,
adoption.
fantastic. Fantastic. We'll take one last question, although we are getting many others. We all know Indian budget is around the corner. So the question is, what are the expectations of the PropTech segment from the budget? Sandeep, your call.
Nirupa, would you like to take a shot at that?
I think the government has been pretty. I think they have supported the PropTech space. I mean, not PropTech. I would say the startup space a fair amount. I think it's setting up, just making the ease of business a lot more easier for startups to come in there. Probably a little more tax rebates, but in general, I found that they have been fairly forthcoming already, especially with their Startup India initiatives. I think recently they had another initiative with their whole Make in India concepts. But I think in general, trying to make the laws a lot easier for startups, maybe reduce the taxation impact on these companies as well. But that's about it. I think in general, they've done a fairly good job already.
Okay, great.
If I could
Sandeep,
just
you would
add,
like to
maybe-
add something to it?
Yeah, maybe they could legislate some of the PropTech changes in the building itself during the construction phase. I think that would drive some of the outcomes we've been talking about.
Okay, great. So, Sandeep, I leave it to you to sum up the entire session today, what we have just spoken.
Thank you, Sapna. Look, it's been an absolute delight to moderate this session. I've taken a lot of notes, and I'm not just going to leave the notes in the office and go back home. I'm going to actually mull over these and use it in my internal discussions later as well with my team. Got some really good. I got a story forming in my head, and if I could just summarize it in 1 minute, what I learned, I'll say. And it doesn't include everything, but some of the key points is, of course, the vibrant ecosystem that we've seen that's driving PropTech in India is growing. And there's a strong business case to sustain that. I think the current COVID situation has only made the business case stronger. It's opened new channels for opportunities. The opportunities that exist to make this whole PropTech space stronger, I see three. One is, of course, to look at it with a holistic lens and to not just focus on bits and pieces. Of course, you can focus on bits and pieces as a starting point, but eventually the opportunity is to bring it all together and look at it from an end-to-end holistic perspective. The second is to go from just driving an outcome to getting a lot more insights as well, which will further drive outcome. And the third is, of course, it's a volume game. So you've got to drive adoption. And of course, voice was one thing that Govind talked about as well, which will drive adoption. With that, I want to thank the panelists once again, and Sapna, to you as well for this opportunity you gave me. I really appreciate your time. This opportunity. Thank you.
Same to you, Sandeep. Thanks for that wonderful moderation, as Mr. Srini also said. And thanks to all the speakers. Mr. Srinivas, special thanks to you for joining us at an odd hour here. And thanks all our other speakers, Nirupa, Mr. Rohit Gera, Govind, Mr. Amitabh Satyam, and Sandeep, of course, to you as well. Thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you, Sapna.
Thank you.
So those were some very, focused views from our panel members of the first session, talking about the PropTech and the technologies and what's the trends that we are going to see in 2021. Our next panel, again, is a very interesting topic and is more focused on funding, the tech areas where we are going to see the funding, tech areas that will attract funding. That is the topic of the second session. Let's have the panel member slide so that we can have the introduction of our next set of speakers. So while we thank our first session speakers, now let me introduce the second panel, which is being moderated by Harshan Vivi, Assistant Vice President in West India. Harshan leads several initiatives for the Agni Technology commercialization program from the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. He has worked at the intersection of technology and public policy across sectors, and most recently at the Chief Minister's Office in Kerala to drive innovation and digital government transformation. That is what we need today, which is the intersection of the innovation, the technologies, and public policies. And that is the kind of inputs we will be getting from our moderator. I welcome Mr. Harshan on this panel as the chair of this discussion. I now introduce our speakers in the alphabetical order. Our first very eminent panelist is Mr. Gaurav Burman. He is the APEC president for 75F. He leads 75F Smart Innovations and has handled diverse portfolios, including product management, alliances, channel sales, and enterprise sales. His previous assignments were with companies like Schneider Electric, IBM, and L&T. And in fact, let me tell you, he has been recognized as one of the 100 most talented CMOs in the world by the US-based CMO Council. Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Baban. And now our next veteran panel member is Mr. Ninad Karpe. He's the partner 100x.vc. Let me tell you something about 100x.vc for those who would not know about it. It invests in early stage startups and aims to invest in 100 startups every year. It is the first institutional investor that invests by the pioneering I-Safe notes. Mr. Karpe, in fact, he has authored a book on business strategies called Bond to Baba, which is listed by Amazon in its prestigious list of memorable books of 2018. So a very accomplished speaker that we have here today with us. Our next speaker is the young and dynamic Prithvi Ram Kanakamidela, Managing Partner, KMV Spaces LLP. Prithvi Ram is a tech enthusiast with a passion for business management. He's experienced in construction, property development, and technology domains with an in-depth knowledge of Indian and American construction real estate industries. He has brought various tech initiatives and organizational practices in the company, and we will be hearing again the sector and the developers' point of view on this session from Prithvi. Our next eminent speaker, Mr. Sumit Sharma. He's the Global Contracts Director, Workplace Services, Capgemini. Sumit is a workplace services leader proficient in CRE value creation, employee experience, sustainability, and customer centricity. He is responsible for delivering resilience of services and outcomes in over 40 countries of Capgemini business, strategic contracts, and supply chains across geographies. So, end user perspective that we will be getting from Sumit in this session. Our next and final panel member is Mr. Vijay Kumar Arisetti, founder and CEO of Brigade. In fact, let me tell you, he has a very diverse profile. Vijay was a helicopter pilot with the Indian Air Force for 10 years and is a recipient for the Shaurya Chakra, a Peacetime Gallantry Award. He was later the vice president at Goldman Sachs before embarking on his entrepreneur journey with Migrate, which as we all know, simplifies management of communities with an intuitive app-based solution. So from one services to the technology segment, Vijay is here with us to share his point of view. Harshan, I hand it over to you, the eminent speakers of today's panel.
Thank you, Sapna. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to this session. It's a very interesting topic that we have got to discuss here with a lot of focus on how investments, where investments are going to happen and how investment scenario is looking like in the sector. I especially want to welcome all of you, Ninad, Gaurav, Sumit, Vijay, and Prithvi. It's really exciting to have an opportunity to hear your very, very relevant thoughts on this subject. Just to introduce myself and the mission that I work on, I am part of the Agni mission, which is an Office of Principal Scientific Advisors mission under the Government of India. The primary objective of the mission is to help innovators and early stage startups gain access to commercialization opportunities, and we work across the spectrum with early stage innovators, including public funded research labs, to achieve and develop India's capabilities for innovation and also to meet the goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think that is the underlying and overarching theme that the government is currently focusing on. Today, we have an exciting panel of experts who would decode this interesting topic of how technology is emerging in this PropTech space and where are the areas that funding would be looking for. and we'd want to really hear their insights and ideas on how transformative changes are happening in this segment and what are the emerging trends in this space. As Sapna was mentioning, we have a very comprehensive perspective that we could gain at the end of this session, because we have experts coming from all sides of the spectrum, including the investor view, including the view from the end users, and also the view from the technology innovators. Just to set the context, the real estate industry, and also to address the elephant in the room, so to speak, the real estate industry was the most disrupted due to COVID in the beginning. But if you look at the current and future sentiments of the sector, especially according to the reports that have come out just today, the Knight Frank, FICCI, Nardeco Real Estate Sentiment Index, the index seems to be fairly positive, and there's a really optimistic sentiment around the industry going forward. One factor we have to note here is also that the outlook is positive across the segments, whether it is a commercial space, whether it is a residential space, the outlook remains positive. And this is also due to the overall positive sentiment about the India growth story. The India resurgence story has been one of the most talked about in the recent past. And if you look at it, the IMF's projections for India's growth is the highest in 2021. It's about 11%, even beating China. So there is a general overall positive sentiment around India and India's capabilities to grow rapidly coming out of this pandemic, and that also reflects in this space as well. There are also other factors that govern the growth story of real estate and the growth story of India. One of them would be the obvious widespread expected availability of vaccines. And despite opening up the economy in the past 3, 4, 5 months, India has not really seen a second wave, and we've been actually able to completely get down the first wave, and the cases remain much lower than any place else in the world. So I think all these factors are contributing to a very positive outlook for the segment, but this doesn't mean that there are no challenges. So this panel would want to also look at the risks that emerge from a disruption, because COVID, one thing 2020 has taught us is obviously that there are possibilities of business disruptions that might happen in the future. So how do we de-risk our business is one perspective that will be very interesting to look at. Also, another interesting perspective the panelists would be obviously talking about is how sustainability is emerging as a common theme across innovations, across areas which would attract funding. So how that is an important factor when we look at businesses for the future, because the impacts of climate change are increasingly visible across the globe. We'll also have a very broad overview from a global and local perspective, because we have experts who are present across the geography here. With that broad context here, I would want to now get moving with the questions of the panelists. Let me start with Ninad here first. Hi Ninad, welcome again. It's great to hear your thoughts. Just wanted to pick up. You've often said that what has worked in the past will not work in the future. That's obviously a common theme that you've focused upon. Just wanted to understand from you, what has worked for the industry in the past, and what do you think will work in the future now that COVID has been a major factor in how the industries would move forward? Just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Arshan. Your opening comments are very, very comprehensive. Leaves little room for us to comment, but I will still, nevertheless, make some comments. So your industry, the entire real estate industry, PropTech industry, has done a phenomenal job in creating so many homes. It's been an industry which has been for last so many years doing an excellent job across various sectors. But like any other industry, it has to reinvent. If it hasn't reinvented, COVID is the time which has forced reinvention to a lot of industries. Education industry, your industry, a lot of industries are forced to reinvent. Let me divert my topic a little bit and give an example of James Bond. James Bond is a successful franchise for 50 years till Skyfall was released, and the character of James Bond, despite being successful, was changed dramatically, and the results were there to see. Skyfall was a huge success. So although you've been successful, you have to reinvent to become a much greater success. I think what has worked in the past is, by and large, demand was always there. By and large, I'm not saying, of course, there are pockets. Uh, by and large, the Indian mood of always buying a home. So on the demand side, by and large, it was more or less given. It was just about figuring out how to tap it, how to get the customer. The whole aspect of creating a demand was not, if I may submit, is something which requires far greater attention. So yes, what has worked in the past was, you had a demand which was there. You had to just figure out how to tap the existing demand. Now what needs to be done is slightly different. Figure out how to reinvent the whole thing and ensure that the demand which is latent, patent, may not be on the top, maybe something sitting down, how to tap that as well and use customers to attract. So in brief, that is what I would like to say.
Thank you, Ninad. I think that are really very relevant points. You've really highlighted the fact that the disruption has obviously caused a dip in demand, while the outlook is fairly positive. The demand is yet to pick up. Do you think any new trends would accelerate in terms of picking up demand for the technologies, specifically in the PropTech space? I'm just following it up with a small rejoinder here.
So it's a bigger topic. Maybe I'll just give a quick pointer now, and then we can come later for a discussion, because you have touched upon a raw nerve of mine. So if maybe allowed to permit, it might be controversial. You might start throwing brickbats virtually at me. There are some industries which naturally adopted to technology. Financial services, one such industry, banking, finance, they embraced it ahead of time. There are some industries which were slow in adopting. Education, by and large, your industry, property related, by and large, obviously there are some. So please don't start throwing brickbats. I'm already getting some glares from people. But yes, there are some exceptions to the rule. So by and large, it has been a little slow. Now, the first aspect of embracing is the peripheral aspect, which is, connected to the accounting, the process. The second aspect is the customer interaction. But these are circles. You have to go to the core, and that is what is going to happen now. And the core is technology has to come to the core. The industry is now fairly adapted well in the peripheral areas of customer acquisition, in the sense of communication, of processes. It's good, not bad, but it has to go deeper.
Thank you, Ninad. I think as you rightly pointed out, that was that obviously would come up in the next round of discussions. I'm obviously Gaurav has been very vocal of this challenge himself. So I think we touch upon the next round of discussion with Gaurav, and you could also then pitch in with your points. Thank you so much. Let me now move to Gaurav. Gaurav, hi. As a global operating across geographies, you've seen it all. Basically, you've deployed your solutions in the US. You've deployed it in India. What do you perceive as the global trend currently in this space? And has the new normal actually surfaced any common themes like that are applicable, whether it is in the US, whether it is in India, whether it's in Japan? Do you see any common trends emerging?
Certainly. Thanks for the question, Harshan. And it's such a broad one that time is really going to be the key constraint for me here. But let me answer it in this way, that across geographies, in the PropTech space, it's really 4 or 5 things that the different geographies are really striving to achieve. The extent may be greater or lesser in different geographies, but really speaking, they're trying to, PropTech is seeking to make buildings smarter, seeking to make buildings more efficient, more secure, healthy, and sustainable, right? So these are probably the 5 things which, the sector is trying to drive at. In, let's say, the US, anything which makes the buildings easier to install, which requires less manpower, so it's more automated, that tends to be more popular, and there's more focus on that. There's a greater adoption of that. There's more VC money put behind that. In India, which is not just on the opposite side of the globe from the US, we're also a hot country, cold country, but also in terms of how we approach technology, it's from a somewhat different angle. Automation is probably not the driver. Efficiency is probably what is looked at more in India. Anything that makes the buildings more efficient, operationally, that is something that tends to be adopted more easily. In terms of some of the tools that are being used, you did ask about what's happening with regard to prop tech globally. The tools that are being used are many and are multi-hued. There's the cloud, of course, which is being deployed in the property space in a large way. There is artificial intelligence and various forms. Today, predictive artificial intelligence is starting to be deployed in more and more edge computing devices. We're starting to see more of machine learning. So for asset management and things like that, there's increasingly more sophisticated machine learning algorithms which are being deployed. We're seeing the usual ones, BIM and all, which are now starting to see their second avatar. New trends like digital twin are starting to come in. But the end result is to try and make it a lot more connected and a lot simpler. So that's the key challenge for facility managers today, that there's such a plethora of data which is coming their way, that simplification is something which is being the main goal which they are seeking to drive at. And lastly, in terms of trends, I will say that in order to make the whole party go around, there's three things that are required. There's the need, which is the clients, the tenants or the builders who own the buildings. They're there, and clearly there is a need from their end. There are the technology providers, people like us who are coming out with this technology. But in order for the party to go around, there's as my good friend Ninad is and his ilk, there is the money which is required to make the whole thing go around. So increasingly, the trend over the last 3, 4, 5 years is that, from probably 4 years ago, maybe the sector was about 10 or 12 billion dollars. Today, it's approaching the 3-figure mark. There's a significant amount of investment which is coming in many different geographies, many different areas, and that can only augur well for the future.
Thank you, Gaurav. I think if I sum it up, operational efficiency is where the key lies, and you have to follow the money to see where the trends are going. Thank you so much. I think those are excellent comments. I think now that we have the context, let's hear from the end user. Let me have Sumit come in. Sumit, I think there have been obviously comments on how operational efficiency is the key from an end user perspective. And also there has been a little bit of a challenge in terms of demand, in terms of uptake of technologies. Wanted to hear your view on how has your experience been so far as a consumer of these kind of technologies, the new age PropTech startups and solutions. And did they, again, alluding to the whole disruption caused by COVID, did you see a significant benefit of employing technologies, or what kind of technologies would you see is most beneficial in case of disruption?
Thank you, Harshan. It's quite an interesting question, and the response may be interesting to some of you. First of all, thank you for having me here with this eminent panel. I think the remarks by everybody, including your opening remarks, have set context very right. But coming to this particular question which you're asking me, what I realized was that the contribution of startups to help us become resilient was very high. And when I make that statement, it may be a general statement, but the fact was that most of the large organizations which had a way of working and were able to try and get on their own pace to be resilient on their business had more or less the momentum which was carrying them had lost flexibility in there. And this particular event, the pandemic event, suddenly made all of us realize that we need more hands to try and solve the same problem at multiple ends. right? While the code was available with most of the enterprises, and I'm not particularly talking about Capgemini here, for them to bounce back their business. But what was missing was those additional hands to fine tune as we got into the journey of bouncing back. That is where we realized that the flexibility which the startup ecosystem in the PropTech world had came to a big rescue for larger organizations. We were able to bring in solutions which are not available at a large enterprise level, but need to be plugged in at a consumer level, like your transport solutions, your solutions which are to do with your social distancing solutions, technology solutions which have to do with your security, entry, exit into the building, making use of touchless technology so that you can administer the traffic within the building as per the changing norms, which were almost changing every month and a week at a time in the pandemic. So all those abilities were things which required huge amount of flexibility, at the same time required sophisticated cutting edge technologies in all fields. So I think that complement was brought in by the startup tech, and it was a very successful experiment. Now, what did we learn from here? What we learned from here was that there is a larger need for larger enterprises to bring in the startup ecosystem as a permanent partner to their growth story. Most large organizations end up investing big time in their own tech, but then keeping a warm partnership with the startup ecosystem in the future is something which most of the large tech companies are learning is a way to go forward. And when I say that, I also support it with the kind of numbers we have seen in the growth of startup unicorns, especially in the B2B tech space. 58% of the unicorns which have been set up in India in 2020, all of them are B2B tech startups. So I think that's where we have seen a huge amount of support and flexibility towards solutioning, which was brought in by startups to us.
Great. Thank you, Sumit. I think those were very relevant points. You spoke about how startups come across as more flexible and adaptable, and that is the key to disruption if you look at it. I think if you look at the broad trends in the sector as well, whoever has actually adapted to the new reality of working remotely or the new reality of a digital presence, those were the startups and those were the technologies that could survive the disruption, and those who were late to adapt obviously had to face the brunt, both in terms of raising funds or both in terms of also scaling their business. Coming to the flexibility and talking about startups, we obviously have Vijay, who has built his startup from ground up, who has now scaled the startup to reach more than 2.5 million homes. So he could possibly come in and talk about two things. One, what are the emerging trends that he has seen in the space, which he has picked up and was able to deploy and employ in his scaling experience that is done. And two, how important is partnership? Sumit was alluding to enterprises starting to partner with startups rather than trying and making investments on their own. How important is partnerships, B2B kind of partnerships for startups to actually grow in the space? Vijay, if we could hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Darshan. So I think the interesting trends that we are seeing, right? I think a lot has been touched by Ninad and Gaurav, right? People are looking for efficiency at how they manage their communities, right? Fortunately, unfortunately, right, we are our customers, right? Especially at MyGate, the customers are more like they are probably the SCCA of India, right? More in they have the ability to earn more than the household, right? At a household level, both the husband and the wife and other family members together are able to earn more than 30 lakh rupees per annum, right? So if you see, so this particular cohort is much more demanding, right? But the people who are servicing these, right? So in a startup like MyGate, right, where and especially all the PropTech related startups, right? What we see is the end consumers are a particular the consumers deal with the product in a particular way, and their expectations from the product is completely different. while the people who are using this product to give that experience to the end user are a different set of people, right? If you see in case of MyGate, the end user is a resident who is at the SCCA of India, but the people who on ground who make the product successful are the security guards, who are probably one of the blue collared or gray collared employee, I would say, right? So it depends, right, in terms of what are the things that you require. The innovation here is how do you make this match very, very simple, right? In terms like whatever product you create for the end user, how easy or how simple it is for the people who are making the product successful on the ground is, right? So that I think is a very, very important thing, right? And at the same time, right, some of the technologies that are being used in the West, right, we cannot get that back to India, because in India we don't look at automation, but we look for efficiency, right? And the way you need to look at this problem, efficiency versus automation, is completely different. You have a lot of tools that are available in the West for automation, but efficiency there is nothing. So you need to think from ground up for the Indian conditions, right, for solving the problem. The other thing that I would say is, to solve the problem for India, right, you need, like, if you solve the problem for India, that product will not be applicable anywhere else. And if you solve the problem for anywhere else, that product will not be applicable for India, right? So if you look at the end-to-end, that that one sentence, what has been told by Gaurav, that operational efficiency, is very important for a country like India. And that particular thing, if you look at that, from the with a microscope, how do we make ourselves operational efficient, right? And a completely different set of solutions will come out, which were never thought of, and which are never being practiced in any other country, right? So I think what is the trend that is coming, right? I think the trend is operational efficiency, and to get that operational efficiency with respect to whatever problem you're solving, it actually gets you to a new solution, right? The existing solutions will not work for India. Yeah. So Harshan, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Vijay. Obviously, that has a lot of insight on the ground, especially when you spoke about the difference in the end consumer versus the people who are implementing that solution. I think that's a very critical insight from the ground up. Also, the distinction between what versus how. We all know what we need to get to, which is operational efficiency, but how do we get to, based on the ground realities, based on the reality, the local reality in India? I think that's a very, very important point that you picked up. Thank you so much for that. Let us now move to Prithvi, who would again come in from an end user perspective, but this is a much more grounded perspective from a construction sector standpoint. And two, also to talk about the problem statements that startups should solve for, to be able to, again, when we speak about following the money would go where the demand is, right? And where the demand will come when there is a problem to solve. So we really want to hear from you, Prithvi. What are the problems that are most pressing for you? What are the problem statements that you have where you would want technologies to come in and work?
Thank you, Arshan. So in my view, I've looked at implementing various technologies over the past few years. So one thing that has kept our entire organization in the efficiency mode is to look at integration. So when we talk, that has been the key word for us in driving our choice for technology, or the choice for the way forward. Right from design stage, where we look at how we design the project, to the marketing phase, to the construction phase, and to the facility management phase. So how do we integrate all of these pieces in a way that the information is transmitted from X to Z in a smooth fashion? So design, we basically solved our major problem of 2D drawings by implementing 3D models, which have been a key driver in visualizing the end use, and solving many construction problems right at the start. So that has been very key in solving our major problems in the current level. And from that, marketing, of course, a lot of the panelists have also mentioned that there are a lot of tools already available in the market. So those tools have definitely enhanced our efficiency in terms of how we engage the customer over a period of time, because real estate has a long gestation period in terms of the customer acquisition. So how do we engage them so that we are not intruding into their space? At the same time, we are giving them enough information so that they can take well-informed decisions in terms of their the property or their home that they would like to buy. And the other aspect is construction. I mean, traditionally, construction is been the slowest in the industry to adopt to any new technologies, and that has been the fact all over the world. And I don't think it will be different in an Indian context. But I see a lot of change coming up, where certain parts of the constructions are being modulated to enhance the speed of the process. Uh, uh, of course, there are countries like Singapore who have implemented complete pre-finished prefabricated volumetric models, where they just they just install the buildings in containers. And it's quite fascinating actually to have a glimpse at how that would be. They're just finishing 20-30 floor of hotels in a span of 1 year, completely furnished. So that has significantly gotten the time reduced. But apart from that, facilities, of course, Vijay touched upon the great point, on how we actually bring the end user into the game, so that they would be able to understand the entire process and be with the community, and think along with the community so that the engagement is better. So all in all, I'd say that the integration between all of this is the key point, and how we bring from the design thought process and to the end user, which is the facility management. So how do we integrate all these steps so that we have a better better connect between the end user versus what a developer is planning. And any technology, I would say, which goes in these lines would be a great hit, and would be what I would look for.
Fantastic. Thank you, Prithvi. I think the key points that anybody who's looking at this discussion could take away are: one, the need to have integration at a common platform that everyone can then plug into. So the integration from the design stage is very important. Otherwise, the customer experience would get broken in the midst. And also understanding how to continuously engage the customer, the kind of solutions that would be really successful, the kind of problems that you're facing would be addressed by having solutions and technologies that would provide a continuous engagement mechanism to the customer. Fantastic. I think we've had great insights and a lot of very valid points. I've made my notes as well as all of you were speaking. Now let's just pivot ourselves to talk a little bit more about investments and funding to the sector per se. One context here is obviously when the whole world was reeling with negative growth in FDI. India was the only major economy which saw a growth, and a growth of 13% in 2020. I think which was a significant deal in terms of how India is looked at globally as an emerging, as a resurgent spot for growth, even in the new reality of 2021. Looking at that, I'd again go back to Ninad to see what are the segments you see in PropTech which will offer maximum returns to investors, and how excited are you for the sector in terms of the future prospects, and why? Ninad, if you could address, I think from an investor point of view, I think your views will be most relevant here.
Sure, thank you. 2021 calendar year is going to be by far the most exciting year for this industry in many years to come. 11% GDP growth rate IMF is predicting for the economy. Yeah. I mean, you just put that, slap it on to what your industry is going to grow. It is just going to grow very, very rapidly. What are we excited about? Firstly, the opportunity. So there are a couple of buckets. I will just name a few buckets. One is a bucket of efficiency, which Gaurav mentioned a lot. Second is the bucket of customer acquisition. In that bucket, still a lot needs to be done. COVID has changed many things for the better. the need for physical interaction between the customers and the developers is going to get drastically reduced. It's music to the ears of people selling, because earlier everything was a physical meeting. Now customers themselves are saying, no, I'm not interested in meeting physically. Let's do as much as possible. That's a great opportunity. So customer acquisition piece, whether you use technologies like AR, VR, virtual reality, all of that stuff is the second bucket: efficiency, customer acquisition. Third, internal efficiencies within the organization, and that by and large, a lot of people have already embraced and adopted. If they have not, it's already too late. Better do it. Fourth is a part which Gaurav alluded to: use of AI, ML, and blockchain. I'm looking for people going this to the root of it. Blockchain will change everything. The biggest aspect it will change is the trust factor, the transparency, and then disintermediation. So this entire aspect can be done with that. And the last point Sumit mentioned about startups, you have to embrace startups. You as an industry will not think of innovative ideas. There will be someone from outside who will come in and think of smart ideas. You have to embrace it, either invest in them, support them. We are always, of course, investing as investors, but as an industry, you need to have an ecosystem to support them. So these are five buckets. In brief, I thought I'll articulate.
Thank you, Ninad. I think all of them are extremely important, starting with efficiency. Also, the increased adoption that you are looking forward to in 2021 of emerging technologies with AI, ML, blockchain leading the pack. And a very interesting point on customer acquisition that you mentioned, how the barriers have now broken in terms of the need to have a physical interaction for selling. That would be the point when I'd want Gaurav to come in, because Gaurav has been a vocal advocate of the challenges of technology adoption in this space. Gaurav, do you think with the new reality and the change in customer acquisition processes and the preferences of customers themselves, do you think the scenario will change in 2021? What are the new opportunities that you see with the changed context that Anand was providing in terms of growing your business in 2021? Gaurav?
Gaurav, I think you're on mute. You're speaking on mute. Could you unmute yourself?
That is strange. Am I audible now? Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, amen to whatever Ninad said, and hopefully that will come and see the light of day. The challenges that I'll deal with the challenges first, and then the opportunities. The challenges are many, but by the same token, so are the opportunities. So let me just get those out of the way. Obviously, for the Indian market, the kind of money that is available for adoption for newer technologies, if you compare it to, say, the US, it's a drop in the ocean. I mean, as a case in point, just let's say the energy efficiency sector. The new US president just announced that there's $40 billion for clean energy, which is being announced, and that probably makes the sector now a 250 billion sector, in addition to whatever was the size of the sector. As compared to that, the Indian energy efficiency market is just about $300 million or so. So there's a factor of merit. But that said, the Indian market is a very different market in the sense that if what is perceived to be a luxury actually becomes a necessity, then the money is found from wherever it is. So it's really about tapping into and changing that hierarchy of needs. And there's this famous book by Jeffrey Moore, Crossing the Chasm, and that has those the innovators, the early adopters, and then the early majority. The Indian market is possibly not got as many people in the innovators and the early adopters, but when it comes to early majority and then the late majority, for sure, we have a lot of people there. So it's just about crossing that particular chasm. And mobile telephony is a good example in point. I mean, we weren't the first ones, but look at how we've adopted it. Right. Which brings me to the second part of your question, which is around what are the opportunities that 2020 has thrown up, and what exactly we see playing out in 2021. And really speaking, this is around the running of building systems automation. That is something which is today becoming quite prevalent as per prescribed sequences. There are numerous facets of this, whether it is automated IAQM, whether it is automated visitor management, parking management, washroom management, comfort being delivered as per a certain prescribed sequence, safety being delivered, and that's something which is becoming very important post 2020. Clients are taking safety very, very seriously, and they're looking at many different aspects of how their building can be improved. So these are numerous opportunities which are emerging for us that we see playing out and becoming much larger given the changed normal which we've seen.
Great. Thank you, Gaurav. I think those are great points. I'm also keeping an eye on the clock. I think we have 20 more minutes to go. I'll just quickly move on to Sumit, just to pick up on the point that Gaurav was making in terms of a lot of early majority available, but the first movers and the early adopters are a little low. So, so do you see yourself, Sumit, on the early adopter side? And what do you see as the future of work, and how important is investing in technology for you? Because when you start investing in technology, that's when I think the money will follow. Just if you could quickly allude to what's your view of the future of work and where you want to invest money from.
So I think there are two things here. One is early adopters to the future of work. Definitely, organizations have moved there faster than anybody else, because we have realized that remote working is a capability. It is no more a business continuity, it's a capability. And that capability will be harnessed not only by us, but by everybody in the market. But coming back to the point of startup ecosystem, so to me, 2021 is a year of, it's actually it starts a decade of a larger collaboration. So collaboration at national level, collaboration at your community level, and so on. But then also with that collaboration, there is a starting block in 2021, which is protectionism, which we are all going to face. But is it a bad news for investors and investment flow for startups? Answer is no, because India by itself is a huge market. So you have two streams to grow as a startup, and similar starting to flow. One is the startup ecosystem, which is focused on low cost growth, right? Which is focused on efficiencies and all those things which are very, very specific to the Indian market, because the diverse needs of the Indian market have still not been harnessed, and the government is totally focused towards that market in big time, supporting it all the way. And if we want to get that deficit gap of another 3 trillion to 5 trillion, you cannot do it without making sure that the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the whole startup ecosystem push is through. So have that one market where more number of transactions, less number of returns, but long run, a good market to be. And then you have this market which is to be serving the globe, right? And there, immediate return assurance, great. But then from a technology perspective, I would like to focus personally more on startups which are more into deep tech going forward, rather than just the peripheral of technology and bringing value to existing technologies. So when I say deep tech, what has this COVID proven to is that the gestation period of deep tech, like biotech, has been reduced big time, right? And the existing ecosystem which you have of cloud and data already gives you that capability to be able to, it actually reduces your barrier cost to get started. So I would focus my money and investment personally wherever you are in the deep tech. From a market perspective, I think I'm not worried where the startup is is focused on, whether a B2B space or towards the domestic market. I would be more cautious towards the technologies they are picking up, and what is their outlook and long-term horizon look towards that.
Thank you, Sumit. I think there's a little bit of a discussion at my end or everyone's end, but I got what you primarily in terms of how businesses are now ready to openly accept and deep tech startups as the new normal. And I'm sure that's music to ears to many of the panelists as well as a lot of people out there who are listening. So I think that's a great point to make. Quickly to also have a rejoinder from Prithvi on this, because again, from an end user perspective, how do you think companies are now handling innovation? Sumit spoke about deep tech being the most preferred kind of technology that they want to look at. Do you think having an internal innovation team is important in terms of deciding where to invest in? Or how do you make that decision in terms of spending money in terms of innovation? Just if you could allude to that quickly, and then we can move to Vijay, who will obviously make a very important point at the end.
Sure, Harsh. So when you're looking at any new technology or evaluating the product itself, we look at how specifically it fits into our entire vision of integrating to the end user. So if it fits a piece and if it works well with the other other existing technologies, we would very well make the investment. And of course, definitely it has to make commercial sense in terms of an ROI. Maybe we look at an ROI of 3 to 5 years in terms of how technology would benefit us, because initial investment is always calculated. So if that works out in that span, and I make sure that the entire teams are involved in from all the segments, so that they are the ones who are the users in the sense of the technology and how to benefit from that. So once they are bought into the system, everything else will just follow.
Prithvi, I think your voice broke off a little. Is it just me, or?
I'm not sure till what part. So Harshan, can you hear me now? Is it audible?
Yeah, it is. Yes. Please do go ahead.
So I was just saying the internal investment, innovation team would be the people who would be actually running the apps as the end users. So we would make sure that we get them on board, so that the entire things will be taken forward by them and leveraged by them.
Fantastic. I think having an internal innovation wing per se for many of these organizations becomes really critical to be able to evaluate where to invest the money in and how that's relevant and sustainable over a long term for businesses. Now, just coming to Vijay. Vijay, one thing I think would be very interesting for a lot of people here would be to understand the fundraising process as you have experienced it, and you've been able to raise funds from across the board of investors. If you could share a few tips, possibly in terms of how your interactions have been with investors and what has worked for you, I think that might be really helpful for the people out there.
Yeah, so I think in the PropTech space, right, when you have to get somebody's appetite to invest on you, there are very critical metrics that I think we would like to see based on our interactions that I'm quoting here, right? And Ninad, you can pitch in the moment you feel if something is wrong, right? So what I fundamentally see is, especially in the PropTech space, right, your ability to scale or your ability to distribute your product becomes a very, very critical factor, right? While you're solving the problem, right? See, what happens with most of the entrepreneurs is they try to solve the problem end to end, right? what I say is, as an entrepreneur, you can solve only few problems. You can't solve all the problems because you're always, most of the times you're bootstrapped, right? When you're coming up with a solution, you can only solve one problem and try to solve that problem at scale and make sure that your product is distributed very fast, right? Otherwise, what will happen is, by the time, like if you see, for example, you take the COVID example, you're solving the problem end to end. One disruption like this comes, and your entire solution actually becomes, void, and entire investment and all those things that came into this till now actually goes back, right? So I feel that solve small problems and problems that can be solved at scale, and your distribution is very, very fast, and the customer is willing to pay for it, right? So what happens is, what I've seen, right, when I used to sell the product, right, to whether it is to customers like Sumit or to customers like Prithvi, right? Everybody has got their own way of thinking about innovation, right? So what happens in PropTech space, like every customer is a big customer. If I go to a Prestige, or if I go to a Cognizant, or if I go to any builder, every builder is a big customer for me, right? So what ends up happening when you go to these kind of big customers is you end up customizing it to them quite a lot, and you end up becoming a services company, right? So you need to draw a line where what is the solution that you want to sell, right? And what is the solution that the customer wants, and very clearly you need to educate the customer. So there are some things which we can do, and there are some things which we cannot do, and there are some things which we get in close to reality, because Sumit is thinking about the problem at hand, and he has got some way of give a solution for it. But as an entrepreneur and being close to the innovation, what is feasible, what is not feasible, and what is going to come later on, right? So I think that education also becomes very important. And once you're able to do all these three things, that's the time you start getting money on the table. And once your growth is at par with what a VC is looking at, when all those boxes are ticked, I think people will come chasing for deals like this, right? Yeah, so that's what I would say in the fundraising this thing, and be very focused in what you're doing, right? Again, real estate is such a place, real estate or PropTech is such a space, right? You find, a Bombay market different than a Hyderabad market, different than a Bangalore market, different than a Hyderabad market, right? You have to be very clear in terms of what you need to, where you need to focus. Like, say, for example, our early days, we said that we focus only in Bangalore, and not only, not complete Bangalore. We'll only focus in Bellandur area, right, which has got highest concentration. Get 20% of the market share there, then go to the next pin code. So you need to be very, very focused also in your, acts, right? So I think all these things play a very, very big role in, a VC determining whether I can fund in this startup or not. Nina, if you have any points to add or anything to contradict, it will be a learning. Yeah.
I will never contradict you, Vijay. Not in public, but in private, we can have a discussion. No, but I think on a more serious note, you really summed it up well. Scale is very important. So there are, to raise money, there you have various options. You have VCs, your private equity guys, your banks, finance. Let me, since you're talking specifically on VCs, you're very right. Number one, we see scale. We don't fund lifestyle businesses. The difference is lifestyle business funds your lifestyle, your family, your home, which is good. Nothing wrong in that. We want businesses to scale rapidly. If it's not scaling rapidly, VCs are not interested. It's not that a business is not fundable. It's not a VC fundable business. We look at what can go right, not what can go wrong. There are various parameters, and we are the thing we're investing with a 95% failure rate is money, and we're looking for exit. So these are very, very clear factors, Vijay. I'm glad you brought. But we are really looking for a lot of ideas. Capital is chasing ideas, not the reverse. If you have a smart idea, PropTech, anything connected, you will get funded. If not by 100x by someone else.
Fantastic. I think that's like the apt and perfect closure for the session. I have gotten a gentle nudge from Sapna saying that we must now move on to taking questions. But Vijay and Ninad, I think the key thing that especially who are startups who are in the audience would want to take away is that the need to stay focused, need to stay simple, solving the right problems. But also, if you are really looking at raising funds from VCs, you have to have a scalable business model, and that's where the money will follow. Obviously, there are funding is not and never restricted only to the VC ecosystem. There are multiple avenues for raising funding, and every viable business would end up raising funds. So either one way or the other. But the key to looking at building a business which is scalable, which is simple, solving a very simple problem which Vijay was talking to, and staying really focused on what you want to solve. With that note, we can open it up to questions. Before that, Sapna, I will just want to summarize the entire discussion here for the benefit of everyone here. We started off by talking about the trends that the space will see. Then we quickly moved on to where investments will happen. We had taken a view from the largest, the entire spectrum of the ecosystem here. And some of the key things that emerged is here. One, 2021, everyone is really optimistic about the whole economy is pumped to grow. So a lot of activity coming up, a lot of funding activity coming up, especially in this space. Two, deep tech is going to be the preference across board, and startups, innovators, technologies, even funders would be chasing deep tech as a major priority. There are obviously new paradigms of customer acquisition that has come up that might be really beneficial for the sector to go forward. Also, the panel spoke about simple truths in terms of the challenges and adoption and how they expect this to basically change in the coming year. I would probably stop here because of the paucity of time. Sapna, we can take a few questions.
Harshan, I'll pose the questions and then you can decide who should be answering that. While the panel has spoken about the tech areas that will be of interest to investors, there is an interesting question that we have is which tech areas are old news or saturated from investors' point of view? Harshan, who should be taking this question?
I think Ninad can take it.
I was about to tell you, Harshan, easy question take, tough question Vijay should take, but anyway, you're the boss, so we'll go with that. I think the saturated areas are, the internal, let's say accounting, ERP, the internal productivity tools are saturated. There are plenty of people.
Okay. So they will not be of that much interest to investors if you are talking about funding. Now the panel members have spoken about this particular aspect, but I'll still take this question is they are saying why PropTech companies have not been able to raise funds like tech players in other segments such as e-commerce and food delivery. What is the reason?
I think. I think it can go to both Ninad and Vijay. Vijay can talk because he has been able to raise funds. So there's a reality there. So maybe Vijay can pick it up first, and then Ninad can come in and talk about the e-com space.
Yeah, see, I think for us, right, the problem that we ended up solving is the problem that the customer is facing multiple times a day. I think the frequency of the problem is also very important when when we are stepping into something, right? I think that was a very important factor when we got into this particular space, right? And even when the VC were also evaluating us, they said that, okay, how many times the customer is facing the problem which you are solving, right? If you see all these food tech or fintech and all these other things, right? You eat food multiple times a day, you travel multiple times, or you go for mobility multiple times a day, you pay multiple times a day. Right, so all these things required some kind of intervention, and entrepreneurs came and did that, right? In our space also, right, we identified that okay, the building accesses or people go through this gate multiple times a day. You interact with security guard multiple times a day, and none of us, actually, and all of us face friction, and we take that as our way of life, right? And we said that okay, how can we break this problem, right? Or how can we solve this problem? And that's how I think it attracted funds, right? But also there are if you see Sumit's case, there may be some problems that he's facing from a building management multiple times a day, and you have to go after problems that are solving multiple times a day. Otherwise, the earlier question, what is the technology that is attracting funds, is not the right question. What are the problems that you're solving attract the right funds? Technology just happens to be a medium, right? But solving the problem is more important, right? Which is the problem you're solving? That is more important in life. right?
Okay.
So look for problems which are faced by your consumers multiple times a day is the mantra I would say.
Ninad, you'd like to add to it?
Sure, very quickly, I'll just add on. I think it's not fair to compare prop tech with e-commerce. E-commerce is a huge area. It's not a industry. But let's compare prop tech to fintech. Fintech is much ahead. The reason is very simple. If you are running in a race that is 100 meters, 400 meters, the person ahead is the first one who gets off the block. They were the guys who realized, located a problem and said, we have to solve the problem. And they went off the block. And that's why they are ahead. I think you'll catch up. 2021, PropTech will catch up fast and furious.
Okay. That's a very positive note. This one last question, probably I'll ask my other panel members, Sumit and Prithvi and Gaurav. It's more of a statement. They say the challenge with investors is that in terms of investing in technology, is to find the startup that have world-class technology product. They also have the knowledge of finance as well as real estate and operations. To get all of that in one startup, that is the challenge. Sumit, you'd like to take that first. You were talking about deep tech. So here we are talking about how can we get all these factors within one company so that the investors are confident of funding.
Absolutely. And I would like to take one analogy which was used by Nick. The analogy he used about was that of fintech. And why we found that fintech was able to go ahead, because when everybody thought that there was no need to prove or invest into technologies which are core to that sector, fintech kept investing into those technologies. They were paranoid about the security of the funds of their customers. They were paranoid about personal information security of their customers. So they kept investing in those technologies and created a niche by itself. In a similar manner, I feel that the whole tech investment space has got saturated world over, and the tech industry by itself is waiting for changing the platform and moving to the next technology. That is where deep tech creates that opportunity for you to discover that and then own the IP comes with you. Owning that IP creates a market, and that is why I am very gung ho about deep tech investments.
Okay, fantastic. Prithvi, you'd like to share your views on that because you are the end customer. If a company comes with a great product but not so much of real estate and operations knowledge, how do you approach that?
So I fundamentally look at the promoters. So I meet the top person and see how committed they are to the cause, and if to what extent that is solving the issue at hand that we have. So if I have two of these, I would go in for the product. I wouldn't because in this day and age, I don't care much about the real estate or to what extent they are they are covered. My primary motive would be immediately to what extent my problem would be solved and how committed and how focused the promoters are.
Great. Gaurav, you would like to add to it?
Certainly. I actually disagree with that statement, and I think it ties into what Vijay spoke about very articulately earlier. I think as startup companies, you cannot solve all the problems that are there. So as startup companies, yes, a certain amount of domain knowledge is important, but you can only solve that one problem. And before jumping into that problem, what startup companies need to be asking ourselves is the problem that we are solving important enough? Number two, are we solving it in a sustainable manner? I mean, it shouldn't be a one-off. We should be able to solve that problem over and over. So that's the scale that Vijay also referred to. And lastly, are we creating enough value? Differentiation or disruption, or call it what you will. But in the customer's mind, are we creating enough value? So you can use technology to try and solve these problems, or you can use anything else, maybe coming at the problem from a finance angle. It doesn't matter, but one should pick that one horse which is there, and then as long as these boxes are ticked, is the problem big enough? Are we solving it sustainably, and are we creating enough value? So if those happen, then I think startups have a winning formula.
Great. I think we got some very varied views, Harshan, from all the members, from investment to the what kind of investments, what kind of tech areas, and how the whole segment is going to move forward. So that was in fact we can go on and on discussing about it, but again the time limits us. But thank you all so much, Harshan, first of all, for moderating this panel so well and getting the best from our speakers. Vijay, for sharing your views as a PropTech company. Mr. Ninad, it's always a pleasure to have you here with us on our panels. Sumit, sharing your views as the end user. Prithvi, same with you, sharing your views with us as the end user, bringing that perspective. I'm sure there are a lot of tech companies who are hearing, this discussion, and they have a lot of takeaways that they have taken. Gaurav, again, sharing your views. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us today and sharing your time and views.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting. Thank you.
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So those were some really great discussions that we had, and we really feel sad that we didn't have enough time to keep talking about that in detail. But we'll keep you updated with more in through our magazine, Realty Plus magazine, and our newsletters on these updates on these subjects. But let's now move on to the much awaited segment of the evening. While we thank all our speakers of today afternoon for being here with us, sharing their views, sharing their time and expertise with us and with our audience. We now let's move on to felicitate those people who in this segment are doing great work. So, let me hand it over to our lovely host of the evening, Khyati Kawa, to take us through the third Realty Plus PropTech Excellence Awards for 2021. Khyati, over to you now.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Sapna. I think that was indeed a very scintillating conclave that we had. If you've enjoyed the conclave, then do write to us and tell us how was your experience? What are the points that you are taking away from this conclave? I now welcome you all to the dazzling evening of Reality Plus PropTech Awards 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Khyati Kawa and I'm going to be a host for this celebratory evening. So I hope both of us will go on and celebrate this evening together. This event is being live streamed on Reality Plus website, which is www.realityplusmag.com. I'm going to repeat that for all of you. It's www.realityplusmag.com. And also we are live on Reality Plus Facebook page, which is at RP Reality Plus. Now, I'm sure all of you have joined us on our online conversation through the conclave. So I'd like you to stick with us in the online conversation through the awards as well and congratulate all the winners. So you can tag us on our social media handles, which are on Facebook, RP at RP Reality Plus. On Twitter and Instagram, we are at RP_reality. So if you're taking mugshots of the awards, if you're going to be taking the mugshots of the winners, you want to congratulate them with that, then don't forget to tag us as well. We'd love to be a part of this conversation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who's joined us on this platform and everywhere else on social media, let's begin the grand ceremony. I hope all of you are ready. If you are, then just give me a thumbs up, say yes in the comment box. Let's get going. Yep. Can we have, firstly, the audiovisual of Reality Plus PropTech Awards 2021, please? Can we have the intro audiovisual?
PropTech is opening up new frontiers in real estate, keeping pace with change in the realty sector. Realty Plus presents the 3rd PropTech Summit and Awards 2021, a virtual series. The bridge between innovative technology, startups, real estate market players, investors, industry experts. Discover inspiring leadership, make new connections, celebrate success. The opportunities are limitless. Come, embrace digital knowledge and innovation in the way we build our spaces.
Well,
Hi there. Hi there.
I am Sumit Sharma.
And I am pleased to be on the jury panel of the third Reality and PropTech Summit Awards 2021.
Our jury is looking
forward to hear your inspiring journey and determine if you are the front runner in the field of real estate technology this time.
If you have an
inspiring story
and you have
not told it to anyone, go ahead and nominate yourself. You will be very widely heard.
All the very best to you.
And do not forget to follow the guidelines which you would have received from the organizer.
I look forward to seeing you
very soon for the awards ceremony.
Well, you've heard from the jury members as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the eminent jury members had a really tough time going through all the applications and coming to a decision, analyzing all those entries and figuring out who to give away these really prestigious awards. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you are ready now. So let me first find out from all of you. If you're ready, give me a thumbs up, say yes in the comment box. And on that note of positivity and excitement, let's add the celebration of triumph to this evening. Dear friends, we present to you the winners of the third Reality Plus PropTech Awards 2021. Do remember to tag us in your lovely winning shots. Like I've mentioned, our social media handles, once again, I'm going to tell all of you. On Facebook, it is at RP Reality Plus, and on Twitter and Instagram, we are at RP_reality. The awards are being presented to the most impressive works of organizations and individuals in the realm of real estate technology. Yes, I think the lockdown and the pandemic has told us that if we can't go there physically, then we definitely can go there virtually. And that is what all of these real estate technologies and the prop tech industry has given to us. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you are ready here. Let's begin with the first award category. And our first award of the evening is the PropTech Real Estate App of the Year. And the PropTech Real Estate App of the Year, this award goes to...
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the PropTech Award ceremony commences. PropTech has become more important than ever in our current times, keeping pace with the change in the PropTech Awards, which celebrates and encourages companies in this important arena of real estate. The third Reality Plus PropTech Excellence Awards categories represent the entire gamut of the PropTech sector. Let's begin with the first award of the evening, which is for the category PropTech Real Estate App of the Year, reserved for an intelligent and user-friendly app that has improved businesses' productivity. And the award goes to Gera Developments Private Limited for Gera World App.
Well, you've heard it. The winner of PropTech Real Estate App of the Year is Gera Developments Private Limited for Gera World App. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big round of applause, even a virtual one. Let's do that as I welcome Harish Rao, AVP Sales and Marketing, Gera Developments Private Limited, to join us on screen. A very warm welcome to you.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Realty Plus, for this award. PropTech is a key enabler of our focus on customer centricity and innovation. We at Gera Developments thank you for this recognition of all our efforts. Thank you very much.
Harish, let me ask you another casual question here. How many app downloads or how many interactions have you had during the pandemic? I'm sure it increased a lot in 2020.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. In fact, very much it helped us during the COVID situation. A lot of our projects updates were put up on using our app. So the consumer were coming onto our app and looking into the project updates. They had apprehensions on how the projects will take forward during this COVID situation. So all the updates day to day, whatever was happening at our site. Also, when the workers started coming back, we were using the app to update us what are the developments happening with related to the projects, with related to the the signing of agreements, also the when the state reduced the stamp duty, when there was a lot of people were coming and buying the properties. It helped us to inform using this app. A lot of information processing was happening. People were updated on all the whatever activities that they had to do. So it kind of helped us in managing the situation quite well in this situation.
That's wonderful. I can imagine the real-time information going to the consumer, or rather customer of yours, must be so important during this time, because they can't visit the site. They can't, most of the staff may be working from home, cut down on staff, and so many things that were happening around that time. And this app would have been completely a lifesaver for them to just understand what's going on with their dream home. So congratulations once again, Harish, to you and to your whole team.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of our team. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much.
Ladies
and gentlemen, don't forget to give out your best wishes to Gera Developments Private Limited for their amazing app, Gera World App. They have taken away the PropTech Real Estate App of the Year award. But coming up next is our next category, which is the PropTech CRM Solution of the Year. Let's take a look at who is the winner of this award.
The next category of the award is PropTech CRM Solution of the Year. This award recognizes the software that has demonstrated excellence in the integrations right up to user experience. And the award goes to Damon Information Systems for Daybuild CRM.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put out our applause for the winner here, Damon Information Systems for Daybuild CRM. I'd like to welcome Mr. Sachin Mehra, founder Daybuild CRM, to kindly join me on screen and receive this award, also share a few words with us. Very warm welcome to you.
Of great joy for each one of us at Daybuild. Thank you so much, Reality Plus and jury members, for recognizing Daybuild as a PropTech CRM Solution of the Year. We founded Daybuild with a single thought of an integrated CRM solution where all the stakeholders of real estate can engage, can exchange, and create value for each other. On behalf of my team at Daybuild, I express my gratitude to all the real estate developers who believed in us and have always encouraged us to innovate. And with this pat on our backs by Reality Plus, we at Daybuild would be more than determined to trailblaze the CRM software movement for real estate developers in India. Thank you so much again for this honor.
Wonderful. Many congratulations, Mr. Mehra, to you and to your team. Would you like to tell all our viewers, because I'm sure while the real estate industry is watching us, there are family and friends also watching of the developers as well as the tech builders. So would you like to tell us what this platform does basically for everybody?
So what this platform does is it brings in the builder and the channel partners and the customers on board on a single mobile platform where they can exchange data and information, basically creating and generating trust and transparency between each other. So, so it's the same, it automates your entire pre-sales and post-sales processes. And post the possession, the families and the property buyers can continue to engage with their, builders and, and build a sustainable relationship using tech as a platform. So that's what primarily Daybuild aims to, cater to.
That's wonderful. And I think there hasn't been such a platform where there was transparency from builders to channel partners to consumers. So wonderful work, Mr. Mehra, to you and to your team. Once again, many congratulations.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next awards category for PropTech ERP Solution of the Year that acknowledges the solution displaying the professionalism and the features contributing to business productivity. Let's take a look at who the winner is of this category.
The next awards category for PropTech, ERP Solution of the Year, acknowledges the solution displaying the professionalism and features contributing to business productivity. And the award goes to MyGate.
So a big congratulations to MyGate, and I'd like to welcome here Mr. Shreyans Daga, co-founder and chief technical officer of MyGate, to join me on screen, receive the award, and also share a few words with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Reality Plus, for this award. It's an honor for all of us at MyGate. We are extremely humbled, and also we are very proud of our team for achieving this in a very difficult time. In this very short period of time, we have been significantly able to increase the value that we can provide to our users. And it also increases our determination to provide world-class value to millions of our users, and also lots of and thousands of societies which are coming on board. So thank you again, and great work. Thank you.
Wonderful. Many congratulations, Mr. Daga. Mr. Daga, take me as the layman consumer who's waiting to understand what is this technology that you all bring about, and how does it help the consumers as well as everybody who's on the platform?
So MyGate's basic proposition is making sure that the investment that you are making in your home, right, you are buying, it's a lifetime's investment, and the biggest assets of your life, the biggest happiness of your life is in a gated community. MyGate's promise, or MyGate's value that it provides us, it makes sure that that value is realized. You have a secure living as well as convenient living. So MyGate's promise is about a better living experience, or what I can say is a gateway to better living if the MyGate ERP solution and MyGate security solution is deployed at a gated community.
That's wonderful. And that reminds me that while I visited a friend recently, I was given the MyGate code to show at the security. So yes, it's going places, and it's reached me for sure. So many congratulations, Shreyans, to you and to your whole team of MyGate.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to give out your best wishes and congratulate all these winners who are bringing about a revolution in how we look at real estate, how we look at property technology coming forward. The next award is the PropTech Startup of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at who the winner is in this category.
The next award is for PropTech Best AI Platform Award, presented to a platform that leverages the power of artificial intelligence. And the award goes to Square Yards for Square Beats.
Well, many congratulations. A mix-up in the category, but nevertheless, let's put our hands together virtually for PropTech Best AI Platform of the Year. It is Square Yards for Square Beats, and I'd like to welcome here Mr. Vivek Agarwal, co-founder and CTO of Square Yards. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Thanks for this award. On behalf of entire Square Yards family, I would like to congratulate Reality Plus also for conducting these awards successfully over the last 3 years. Thanks a lot.
So Vivek, I'm going to ask you also to tell us, what is Square Beats? What does it do for the consumers, for the people who are on the platform?
Right. So, see, we started Square Yards almost 6 years back, and we were like 40 people then. Now we have grown to 4,000 people. So we started building this in-house technology called as Square Beats for our internal salespeople, for our internal employees to manage their leads, their transactions, and their day-to-day work. So the platform is essentially a ERP and a CRM platform combined into one, plus a field force management. So it does various things. On the CRM side, it actually has a scientific lead nurturing management system. It enables sales people to do knowledge sharing among the clients. Specifically on the AI side, we focused on the lead nurturing part. Like we focused on 3 areas for machine learning. Like first is the lead scoring, like how likely is the sales is the client, how likely is to buy the property. Second is how do we assign lead to a best salesperson who is about to close this property, and third is whether we should reassign the leads or not. So we did a lot of algorithms, lot of machine learning put into this. And the result is that our average transaction closure of our agent is almost 2x of the industry. So we manage close to 1.5 million calls. We manage 50,000 site visits a month on this platform. It has been really growing well.
Amazing. That is so like really it takes me back. Wow, this is something that technology can bring to businesses. So many congratulations, Mr. Agarwal, to you and to your whole team there. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kathy.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're moving forward to our next award. Let's take a look at the next award category. Can we have the AV, please?
The next award is for PropTech Best AI Platform Award, presented to a platform that leverages the power of artificial intelligence. And the award goes to Square Yards for Square Beats.
I think we got over that award already. I think our technical team is so impressed with Square Yard Square Beats that they played it again. But never mind, let's move on to our next award category. Things like these keep happening. We are in this virtual world trying to emerge victorious even in our virtual events. Let's move on to our next award. All right, till then, let me remind all of you, we are live on our...
The next awards category is the PropTech Innovation of the Year. The award felicitates a company that has delivered a truly innovative outcome by way of a business model or way of thinking. And the award goes to Seldo for Seldo Iris.
So our big congratulations to the whole team of Seldo Iris. I would like to welcome on screen Mr. Vinayak Katkar, co-founder Seldo, to join us and tell us about Seldo and receive this award.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you, Realty Plus, for the award. I would like to thank all the real estate developer channel partners for making Seldo and Iris the most trusted sales and marketing platform. We'll continue to innovate and build next-gen customer experience platform. These recognitions only fuel us to make our platform better. Iris is one of its kind of innovation that we did 1.5 years ago, but that truly emerged as a need of the hour once the pandemic started. Iris is an online property booking platform. So just to give an example, Mahindra Life Spaces developer launched the entire project in the lockdown, and they had like more than 300 zero-touch bookings without like, customers coming to the site. The entire experience was managed on the Iris platform, right from the virtual site visits, the booking of the meeting slots and everything was done through the platform. So we'll continue innovating and keep building these customer experience, enhance the customer experiences through the technology. Thanks once again for the award, and all the best for, and congratulations to all the winners from the different categories.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Katkar. You didn't give me a chance to ask you. You told me everything that I needed to know as a consumer and as a viewer, all those who are watching us. But let me ask you one really, probably a funny question for you, but did kids come in to see the virtual, booking virtual space that y'all were showing them? Because I think I would be excited if I get to see the whole house, how it's going to look virtually.
Yeah. So we have like two models. One is 3D model and one is 2D model. So the 3D model allows you to go through the entire flat. You can choose the flat, building, and the project, and go inside the flat, and then have a look at the interiors and all. Once you are convinced about the property, the amenities can be shown on the platform. So it literally simulates what you would have seen or like experienced in a real world. And once you have chosen the property, it has an online booking e-commerce style platform where you can just click on the buy now button, and there is an assistance coming from the salesperson. He is always there to assist and help you and guide you through the entire property booking process. And so we have also integrated the financial portals like the loan eligibility, and also so you will get to know if you are eligible for the loans based on your just PAN card number, and it will show up how much loan you can get, and if you are eligible to buy the property.
This is so exciting, Mr. Katkar. I think it's become, I can't believe that we could do this for houses, like shopping online for houses, looking at them immersively through this technology and just figuring everything out on a platform by yourself without, actually having to speak to anybody in person. This is wonderful. Many congratulations. And I'm sure this is going to go places, as now everybody's getting used to using technology for everything that we do. So many congratulations to you and to your team.
Thanks a lot, Kathy. Thanks, PropTech Awards.
Thank you so much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our next award. If you are also as excited and as fascinated by all of these technologies that all of these our awardees have come up with, then do tell us, what do you feel? How excited you are? Which is the thing that excites you the most or amazed you the most? Tell us in the comment box while we move on to the next category. Let's take a look.
The next awards category, PropTech Startup of the Year, is presented to a company that has shown innovation, scalability, and market reach to become a game changer in the industry. And the award goes to 75F Smart Innovations Limited for First Source Solutions.
So our big congratulations firstly to 75F Smart Innovations Limited for First Source Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the PropTech Startup of the Year. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Gaurav Burman, APAC President, 75F Smart Innovations Limited. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Khyati. Thank you, Realty Plus. And on behalf of everyone at the 75F family, it's very humbling, and awards like this serve to remind us of whether we are, as a startup company, solving real problems for our customers or not. And hopefully, with this award, to some extent, we are. So thank you again.
So Gaurav, I'm going to ask you the same question. What does basically First Source Solutions does, and how have you scaled up in this year?
Okay, so 75F really as a company with IoT BMS, which is a building management solution, and we are designed for commercial buildings. We do 4 things. We provide energy efficiency, we provide comfort enhancement, we provide automation, and we provide remote manageability of the buildings so that people can manage through a combination of hardware, software, and automation, can manage their building, get a complete view of it, and make it a much more efficient and a much more sustainable building. So that's what we do.
Wonderful. So these are smart offices, smart buildings that we, in the layman's term, talk about, that everything can be remotely done, remotely managed. Many congratulations, Gaurav, to you and to your whole team there.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Realty Plus.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward to our next award, let's take a look at which category award are we giving forward. Let's play the AV, please.
Moving on to the recognition of the entrepreneurs of the PropTech world. The PropTech Young Leader of the Year felicitates an individual who has brought innovative tech solutions to the real estate. And the award goes to Pankaj Bansal, Director, M3M India.
Many congratulations to Pankaj Bansal, but we do have Mr. Sudeep Bhatt, President Sales and CRM M3M India, who's here on behalf of him to please join us and share a few words. Guess we've lost Mr. Bhatt here. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, while we bring in the next award category, let me once again remind all of you to not forget to wish all of these awardees, the winners, these companies, these teams have come up with the new emerging technologies that make our lives more comfortable and more convenient. Yeah. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, to our next award category. Let's take a look at the audio visual.
Next, we have the PropTech Real Estate Developer of the Year. This goes to a company that has made the best use of technology to enhance a construction project or process. And the award goes to KMV Spaces LLP. And Gera Developments Private Limited.
So our big first congratulations to both these developers for taking away the PropTech Real Estate Developer of the Year award. I would like to first welcome once again from Gera Developments Private Limited, Mr. Harish Rao, AVP Sales and Marketing, to please join us on screen and share a few words on the second win.
Kathy, thank you again. And I thank the Realty Plus for this award bestowed on Gera Development. Again, on behalf of the entire team at Gera Development, we thank you, Realty Plus, for this honor.
So, Mr. Rao, tell me, how has the team worked in this pandemic? Because I'm sure y'all couldn't be at the site or the sales office of the site. So, how did the team work? How did they manage to, close down on bookings, still stay connected to, apart from the technology that you told me about? But were there more remote working? How was that for all of you as a team?
Yeah, so at the sales end, we actually had developed a complete online booking platform. So the whole idea was to, whenever any customer wanted to book or any of our property, we had an option given them to book it completely on an online method. Also at our site, if any customer came for site visit, we had looked into all the norms of COVID, and we had ensured that absolutely there is no kind of paper and pen kind of a method to fill the form. We actually created an online booking platform where they fill the form and they submitted it online. So we ensure that it's a completely end-to-end till the time of the booking amount is paid. We created a complete online platform and use this effectively during this time, this 8 months period that we have all seen. So yeah, it immensely helped because customers were very comfortable in kind of ensuring that they follow this kind of process that we had created. It was a win-win for both customer and us on this platform.
Wonderful. And now that things are opening up, are you planning to keep this process going or again go back to
Yes, very much we intend to build on this process. In fact, we are going to bring in much more activities on this using technology as a forefront for ensuring that more and more options are given out to customers. In fact, we're planning to also have remote access given out to customers so that they don't have to actually come to site to book it, but using our website and using our app, they can actually complete their entire booking process. We are working on that lines.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Rao, and many congratulations once again to you and to your whole
Thank
team.
You again. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the next PropTech Real Estate Developer of the Year awardee. And how can we not call them here, right? Ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual applause on as I welcome from KMV Spaces LLP. I would like to welcome Prudhivaram K, Managing Partner of KMV Spaces. I hope I've said the name right, but I'm going to ask him to please tell me. It is Prudhivaram, am I right?
Yeah, it is. It's Prudhivaram. That's correct.
Prudhivaram. So firstly, very warm welcome to you. Many congratulations. And tell us about how has this time been and how do you feel winning this award?
Oh, thank you, Kathy. And thank you, Realty Plus and the jury for selecting us on the first entry that we have put into Realty Plus. It's a great acknowledgement to us and our team who have put in a lot of thought into bringing these technologies to life. So yeah, these times have been crazy, the last 1 year. But since the inception of the company, we have been working towards technologies, such as 3D models for building, constructing, as well as marketing. So it helped us a lot during the pandemic as well.
Okay, tell me, how did the team work together? Did you all have more Zoom meetings to coordinate between the teams? Because I'm sure everyone was working remotely around that time.
Absolutely. I mean, we all had a CRM, an app-based CRM from the beginning. So all coordination goes through the app and the CRM. So it's almost coordinated backend. So whenever they had to meet even customers, they would just video call. More than Zoom, it was mostly WhatsApp video calls.
Video calls. All right. And how did the team bond during this time? Was it difficult for the team, or did they adapt to this new normal very easily?
Yeah, I mean, we worked on shift basis kind of setup. So people were coming in and out of the office all the time. So it was a different environment, not a normal setup that we would typically see. But they had good time, and the office was more spacious, and they were able to go around much
easily,
much faster. So that's about it.
Of course. So once again, Prudhivaram, I would like to congratulate you and your whole team of KMV Spaces. Many congratulations. This is a big win.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're moving forward to our next award. Let's take a look at which this award is.
An exciting new field is Tech Drive Architecture, and our last award for the evening is for PropTech Architectural Firm of the Year. And the award goes to DSP Design Associates.
Many congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Give your virtual applause to the winner of PropTech Architectural Firm of the Year, DSP Design Associates. I would like to welcome on screen here Mr. Desai, founder and principal of DSP Design Associates, to join us on screen and tell us, how do you feel? How has the year been?
Hey, thanks, Kathy. And first of all, congratulations to all the fellow winners. And this is a fantastic initiative by Realty Plus and Business World. Very excited to receive this recognition as a thought leader in the space of architecture, PropTech Architecture of the Year. And highly excited. I thank on behalf of the entire DSP team. And special mention and thanks to Realty Plus and Business World to actually incept this new category of awards as PropTech Architecture of the Year to spread awareness and knowledge in this space. So good feeling, Kathy.
Wow. So, Mr. Desai, as the people in the field may know, but we would like to extend this knowledge forward. So how has technology changed the way you look at design and architecture? And what do you all do basically?
It's a question which can go on and on and on as an answer, because we have been kind of working in this space since last 5 years now. And we realize that the trends in digital transformation are kind of gathering pace at a big momentum on a year-on-year basis. And in the last 1 year, it has even gathered more space. So DSP started moving in this space, I would put it, say, 4 to 5 years ago. And our first endeavor was to educate ourselves, map the trends of what is happening in the space, what we can bring on the table as master planners, architects, interior designers, how we could look at things differently. So we started participating into various world forums like the IoT Congress in Barcelona, attended the RealComs in North America region, various parts, to kind of understand what is happening in this space of digital transformation, how is the technology evolving, how is the element of IoT working, and how do we bring in as master planners, architects, and interior designers. And we felt that probably it was time for a company like ours with a global outlook and a vision to change our approach entirely and start looking at data-driven design and integrate technologies from day zero as we start moving into the planning of a project. So along with the architects, the interior designers, the engineers, the master planners, the workplace strategists, we felt that there was a need of incepting a separate team which would have technologists, workplace strategists, engineer thinking from a different perspective altogether, and kind of bring that knowledge on day zero while we start designing the architecture and the interior. And with this vision, we kind of moved to a philosophy of a data-driven design integrated with technology. And what it led us to was the understanding of actionable intelligence, which data gave us. But we also realized that actionable intelligence alone is not going to be enough. We as master planners, architects, interior designers, engineers need to lead the action and the change. And therefore, we kind of set up a separate vertical altogether at DSP under the tag of DSP IB. And that DSP IB team, so IB stands for Intelligent Buildings, who are our partners headquartered out of North Carolina. And they have been in this space of providing advisory, strategy, consulting services since last decade and a half, but only focused to US. And we both came together as one global force. So now we are a team of almost 50 people spread across North America and the city of Bangalore and parts of India, who bring this strategy, advisory, consulting services as architects, interior designers, and master planners to our client. And this team works together with the normal architecture team and the interior team from day one, as I said. And we kind of provide the service right from cradle to grave, I would say. So we don't talk about any elements or any technology. We are not here to sell a technology. We are here to sell advisory, strategy, consulting. And we work with the technology providers outside. And that's how we kind of do a cradle to grave. So starting right from the initial vision as a data, as a strategy, to the use cases, to supporting the client on the procurement strategies, designing the architecture, also monitoring during the course of implementation, and then handing over the project. So we gave an end-to-end solution for this. And currently at DSP, we've been fortunate to have clients who have understood the need of this kind of solution. And we have already dived into certain projects on the architecture front and on the interior front, which are under implementation and design stages at various parts of India, which would be completed in near future, which would improve the experience of the end users, which would bring better optimization in terms of space utilization to a client, which would also optimize the energy patterns usage for a client, which would improve the well-being for a client, and also secured work environments. And look forward to that day when we are able to present those projects on your platform to this whole fraternity as completed examples of this kind of interpretation in this part of the world.
Absolutely. It already sounds so exciting. If I get it right, it's a very holistic approach to architecture and design from zero, as you said. So once again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful. And, I hope that more agencies like yours, advisory boards like yours would come forward and take a very holistic approach moving forward, because that is going to take our country and our real estate industry forward. So many congratulations, Vimal, to you and to your whole team here.
Thank you, Kati. And again, thanks to Reality Plus and Business World for recognizing the need for this particular award space as PropTech Architecture of the Year. To spread awareness, to spread knowledge in our country on this particular space of digital transformation. And very happy to work with your platform in future and look forward to it. Thank you.
We'd love that. Thank you so much, Vimal. Many congratulations again.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to a fantastic closing of the third Reality Plus PropTech Conclave and Excellence Awards 2021. I urge all of you once again to give out your love, shower love and blessings on all these awardees. Give them your best wishes, congratulate them, send them some messages right now as we move on and show you the screen of our winners' logos here on this main screen. Can we have the winners' logo slide, please? So a big congratulations to all the winners here: 75F, Jabled, DSP, Kera World, KMV Spaces, M3M, MyGate, Cell.do, and Square Yards. Many congratulations to the whole team who may be watching us right now. So do take our heartfelt congratulations from the whole team of Reality Plus. So once again, I would like to congratulate all our winners. You've made the industry proud with your dedication and performance. Thank you once again, all of you, for taking the time to come and be connected with us today. Your participation and presence made this evening truly memorable. We wish you all health and well-being. Well, I learned a lot and I have become a little more aware on what's happening in the real estate prop tech side. I hope this has been enriching for you as well. We look forward to seeing you all soon virtually, and hopefully with God's grace, once we emerge from this pandemic, we will have the delightful opportunity to connecting in person too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Khyati Kawa, your host, signing off. Stay safe, be good, see you in the new. Thank you and God bless.